Chapter 1643. Crackle, crackle. The prayer beads already possessed Buddhist energy after being blessed by him day and night. The moment they touched the many demons behind Feng Chunzi, they immediately let out a crackling sound. Fellow Feng Chun, quick, go outside and get reinforcements. We can't fight so many demons with just our strength. The old monk revealed a tragic smile. I'll be in charge of this place. Today, I'll use 800 years of hard work to fight you all. He suddenly cut his palm, and golden blood gushed out instantly. The old monk could not care less about the pain as he resolutely sprayed the blood in all directions. All the monsters that came into contact with the golden blood let out shrill cries, and then they transformed into smoke and dissipated. True martial thousand lightning sword. At that moment, an indifferent voice came from outside, and then a lightning-like sword gleam whistled over. The sword gleam was like a dragon, and wherever it passed, countless demons were killed on the spot. The surviving demons were about to charge out, but they seemed to have collided with an invisible wall and were forcefully bounced back. Feng Chunzi and the rest, who were in despair, were overjoyed when they saw that Heavenly Lord Yi. Under everyone's gaze, Yi Chun slowly descended. He lifted his hand and summoned the purple heaven divine lightning, forcefully destroying all the remaining demons in the formation. After he was done, he could not help but look at Feng Chunzi and the rest and say, "Fortunately, I came in time. Otherwise, I'm afraid it would have caused a disaster. All of you, tell me everything that's happened." Heavenly Lord Yi. Feng Chunzi took a deep breath and said, "Just before the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the Yin-Su passage split open and countless evil creatures rushed out. The tunnel cracked." Yi Chen's expression changed slightly. He took a few steps forward immediately and took a closer look at the thick, ancient stone door. Indeed, there were dense cracks on it. Looks like something really happened to Yin-Su. His heart sank when he thought to this point. The demonic soil has been unsealed and is no longer limited to the forbidden area. I believe a demonic disaster has broken out in Yin-Su. Otherwise, the Realm Guardian and the Holy Ape would not have watched so many demons rush into the outside world. He took a deep breath and said to Feng Chunzi, "Open the tunnel. I want to go in and have a look." However, Feng Chunzi said something that shocked him. The passageway can only be exited, not entered. How could this be? Yi Chun frowned and pressed his hand on the huge stone door immediately, trying to force it open. However, with his current physical strength, not only could he not open the stone door, but also cause more and more cracks to appear on it. From time to time, many fiends would surge out from within. "Heavenly Lord Yi," Feng Chunzi said with a serious expression, "there seems to be a problem with the tunnel. It has become very unstable. If we use brute force, the stone door will completely collapse. At that time, Earth will truly be finished. The plan now is to stabilize this passage and seal it so that the demons in the Yin ruins can't come out." Yi Chen shook his head lightly. A gleam flashed in his hand. An emperor brush appeared in it. He waved the brush in the air. Under everyone's gazes, an incomparably mysterious golden word, "forbidden," suddenly appeared. The word "forbidden" landed on the stone door like a tattoo. It trembled lightly and returned to normal. If one took a closer look, they would realize that the entire stone door seemed to be covered by a layer of formation. The cracks on it were slowly closing. "Heavenly Lord Yi, how long can the seal last?" someone asked. Yi Chen shook his head. "A month at most. The stone door will definitely break in a month. By then, all humans will be exposed to the demon disaster." After saying that, he immediately told them everything he knew. After hearing that, everyone was shocked and filled with despair. At the same time, another voice transmission talisman came from the void. Feng Chunzi's expression changed drastically when he caught it. Oh no, something happened to the other two Yin ruins passages in China too. Almost on the same day, the three Yinshu passageways from China to Yinshu all erupted with devil calamity. Countless devil monsters surged out of the passageways. Many Chinese cultivators died on the spot, and some of the fiends destroyed a small village after escaping to the outside world. Compared to China, the other countries were in an even more tragic state. Countless fiends surged out of the passages. After entering the human cities, countless people died on the spot, but most of them were assimilated into fiends. A small country in Europe with hundreds of thousands of people was declared destroyed and occupied by countless fiends. These fiends began to spread to the surrounding countries at a terrifying speed. The world crisis had arrived, and everyone was panicking. Many countries formed an alliance and sent out a large number of allied forces to suppress these fiends with all their might. The world crisis is coming. This is an evil creature we call a fiend. Even the most powerful cultivators are in danger of dying in front of it. As a member of the Earth's shared destiny, we should contribute all our strength and work together sincerely to save the crisis. In an instant, many leaders of various countries made their proposals. At the moment of life and death, they finally put aside their past prejudice and chose to cooperate. China was the country with the most serious demon disaster. At that time, countless cultivators were mobilized to guard the three Yin ruins passages. They swore to stop all the fiends. At that time, Yichen received an extremely shocking piece of news. A strange crack seems to have appeared in Tiannan. True demonic energy is surging out from it. Into this chapter. Chapter 1644. In Tiannan, China, near southern Yunnan, there was an extremely precipitous cliff surrounded by mountains. The cliff was surrounded by tall mountains that were hundreds of meters tall and pierced through the clouds. Below it was a long and narrow rift valley that could not be seen at a glance. If someone looked from above, they would realize that the cliff was like a huge mountain that had been chopped from the middle. At that moment, several figures crossed the entire cliff and finally landed in a huge ice valley. There was a crack in front of them. If there were outsiders present, they would definitely notice that a large amount of black energy was surging out of the huge crack. The surrounding vegetation was all demonized, and it was like a bloodthirsty beast that hunted countless living beings. Any living being that came into contact with it would instantly be reduced to a pile of bones. "It's here." The Patriarch of Hell pointed at the crack. Yichen squinted and looked at the huge crack before him. He frowned and said, "It's indeed a spatial crack. Who discovered this place?" "It was discovered by a villager from a village on the mountain." The Patriarch of Hell said in a deep voice, "It said that an herb farmer came here to pick herbs yesterday morning and never returned." The local villagers worked together to search along the mountain and finally discovered this crack. He could not help but glance at Yi Chan when he said that. "Fellow Yi, do you think the demonic energy in this crack comes from the devil world?" Yi Chan did not answer. Instead, he bent down and grabbed a handful of demonic energy. After sensing it carefully, he shook his head and said, "No, the demonic energy in the devil world is innate demonic energy, but this is true demonic energy. Looks like it seeped out from Yin Su." His eyes flickered slightly. The Patriarch of Hell said worriedly, "I wonder how many more cracks like this are. If we don't repair them in time, I'm afraid the entire Earth will be destroyed once they explode." "That's right. Therefore, our top priority now is to find similar cracks and seal them all with our best efforts." Yichen nodded lightly. After saying that, Emperor Brush appeared in his hand instantly. He waved it in the air and wrote the mysterious word seal, completely sealing Li Feng in front of him. To prevent others from accidentally entering, he set up a soul confusion formation around the crack. After everything was done, he returned to Tiannan with the Patriarch of Hell. At the same time, he received a piece of good news. Su Yuhan had woken up. Looking at Su Yuhan, who had woken up, Yi Chan said in surprise, "Yuhan, are you all right?" Su Yuhan shook her head. She seemed to have recalled something and said in a daze, "Xiao Chun, I feel like I'm dreaming." "What did you dream about?" Yi Chan asked. "I don't really remember." She tried her best to recall and then shook her head in pain. "I feel like I've become another person. It's very strange, very scary, very powerful." Furthermore, she could not help but look at Yi Chun as she spoke to this point. She said while still in shock, Moreover, I dreamed that I attacked you. She had just woken up. To take care of her feelings, Yi Hai, Yang Tian, and the rest did not tell them that she had attacked Yi Chun before she passed out. So it seemed to her that it was a dream. It's just a dream. It's fine now. Yi Chun had a complicated expression on his face. He held her hand gently after taking a deep breath in. Yuhan, promise me that you won't leave me no matter what happens in the future. Su Yuhan was slightly stunned when she heard that. She did not expect him to say something like that all of a sudden. Limitless pft. She snickered and rolled her eyes at Yi Chun angrily. Idiot! Why would I leave you unless you don't want me anymore? Yi Chun nodded and told her everything that had happened in the past 2 days. Qian has become the heavenly Tao. Su Yuhan was a little sad. She could not help but recall the first time she met Qian. The little girl was wearing tattered clothes and walking on the streets timidly. She curled up into a ball after being bullied. Don't be sad. Perhaps this is her destiny. Yi Chun comforted her and said, familiarize yourself with your strength in the next few days. At the same time, stay in the Yi residence. I still have something to do. Now that the Yin ruins had collapsed, the devil disaster had broken out, and the entire world was in danger, he would not sit back and do nothing at such a tense moment. An hour later, Yi Chun appeared at the Yin ruins tunnel on General Mountain again. He gathered Feng Chunzi and the rest and ordered, everyone at this critical moment, I hope that you can contribute all your strength to protect China and Earth. Heavenly Lord Yi, please give us your orders. We swear to obey. Feng Chunzi took the lead and knelt on one knee. His voice was extremely firm. Plop. The rest knelt on one knee at the same time. Great. Yi Chun nodded lightly and said, firstly, fellow Feng Chunzi, gather all the cultivators in China in my name, especially those above nascent soul. Search for any spatial rifts in China. Inform me when you find them, and I'll seal them. Secondly, the rest of you will use your own strength to mobilize all the cultivators in the country to prepare for the devil disaster. Thirdly, Yi Chun told them all the remedial measures that he had thought of and distributed them according to their strength. Now that the Yin ruins tunnel was blocked, he could not enter Yin ruins. The only thing he could do was to protect China and prepare for the worst at the same time. After everyone left with the order, he appeared in Beijing again and contacted Han Qinhu, Yin Nanfei, and the other shareholders. These people were now in the army and held important positions. General Han. Yi Chun glanced at Han Qinhu and the rest and said in a deep voice, your mission is to mobilize the army to guard the crack where the demonic energy appeared. At the same time, eliminate anyone who wants to fish in troubled waters and wants the world to be in chaos. As for General Yin, head to the Western countries and convey my message to them. Tell them to carefully search for the spatial rifts that appeared in the country. At the same time, they will guard the other tunnels. China was not the only country that had tunnels leading to Yin ruins. There were still tunnels in other countries, but they had not been unsealed before, so no one could enter. However, now that such a change had occurred in Yin ruins, people had to be cautious. After all, it was useless for China to be careful. Once the devil disaster broke out in other countries, China would definitely be implicated. That was the so-called community with a shared destiny. In the face of a global crisis, past prejudice and grudges were meaningless. To everyone, the most important thing was to survive. Chapter 1645. China, Ganzhou, Spiritual Medicine Mountain. A terrifying formation covered the entire Spiritual Medicine Mountain. There was a pungent smell of blood mixed in it. This place was first controlled by the Yao family. Yi Chun had once come here to subdue the father and daughter of the Yao family. Later on, after Shang Santian entered the world, the Yao family betrayed Yi Chun and was destroyed. As soon as Yi Chun stepped into the formation, a few figures appeared before him. They were old Taoist Tatian, the patriarch of hell, and the rest. Yi Chun said, "Where's the tunnel? It's at a place that you've overlooked." The patriarch of hell smiled mysteriously. He then opened the formation and walked in with Yi Chun. On a barren slope behind the Spiritual Medicine Mountain, a hurricane was faintly flickering on a stone wall. There was a tunnel in the hurricane. What's this? Yi Chen's eyes could not help but flicker when he saw it. If I remember correctly, this was originally a spatial rift. I sealed it later on, right? That's right. The Patriarch of Hell nodded and said with a smile, I was the first to discover it. At that time, I was only on Qi Assembly. I even treated it as a crack that led to the outer world. You sealed it later on. Old you don't know. Yang Tian could not help but say, after we listened to you and searched around for the broken cracks, we found this place. There are actually Inshu creatures that escaped from it. Inshu creatures? Yichen raised his brows. Yang Tian smiled and waved his sleeve. Immediately, a human-shaped skeleton appeared in front of him. The human-shaped skeleton was green. It wanted to escape as soon as it appeared. However, it fell to the ground in fear when it saw Yichun. An undead creature from the corpse demon sea? Yichun came to a realization. He looked at the former immediately and tried to send his divine consciousness out. He said, tell me where you're from, and I might spare your life. I'm from the corpse demon sea. The green human-shaped skeleton said in a trembling voice, Master Yi, after Saint Lord Sanyu died, Master Tribulation became the new master of the corpse demon sea. Please spare my life. Tribulation? Yi Chen's expression finally eased upon hearing that. It seems like this guy defeated Saint Lord Sanyu and devoured his soul fire. I wonder how much he's grown. He continued, then do you know what happened in Inshu? The green human-shaped skeleton immediately said, I don't know the details. It happened too suddenly. The whole Inshu ruins was covered in devil chi. I accidentally entered a space-time reversal and finally came here. Yichen could not help but frown when he realized that he could not get anything out of it. He then said to Yang Tian, I'll leave it to you for now. Although the green skeleton was only at the nascent soul stage, it could easily cause a lot of problems if it was allowed to roam freely in the mortal world. After keeping it, Yang Tian asked, what should we do next? Naturally, it's to enter the Yin ruins. Yi Chan said in a deep voice, the devil disaster in Inshu is the source of all evil. If we don't destroy the source, the outside world won't be safe. Go. He looked at the crack in front of him and took a step forward. Then, his body twisted violently, and as a brilliant light erupted, he turned into a rock. Get on my back. Under everyone's shocked expressions, the Kuan Peng spoke in the human language. Apart from Taoist Master Tatian, the Patriarch of Hell and the rest did not hesitate and stood on the Kuan Peng's back. Taoist Master Tatian said guiltily, Fellow Yi, I'm not from this world, so I won't participate in your grudge. Please forgive me. You're being too polite, fellow Tatian. The Kuan Peng that Yi Chun had transformed into said, if there's any danger in the mortal world, I hope that fellow Tatian can help if you have the ability. I'll definitely be generous. Of course, after receiving Taoist Master Tatian's promise, the Kuan Peng that Yi Chun had transformed into flapped its wings violently. Then it shrunk rapidly and dove into the huge crack. He had unleashed the true Spirit 9 transformation. The Kuan Peng was a void divine beast. It had an extremely shocking talent for spatial power. It could allow it to be like a fish in water under the chaotic space-time reversal. At the barrier between Insu and Earth, a huge black hole appeared in front of Yi Chun with a sharp whistle. Yi Chen's body shrunk again and turned into a ray of light. He charged into the huge black hole with everyone on his back. He forcefully passed through the huge black hole and appeared in a bright place. Yi Chen returned to his human form as soon as he got out. The Kuan Peng avatar behind him wailed and turned into a ball of light that entered Yi Chen's body. Only then did he begin to look around. The scene before him was dim and unclear. The abundant spiritual energy was mixed with demonic energy, and countless living beings had already withered. Something really happened. The Patriarch of Hell shook his head slightly. Yi Chen's eyes flickered as he said, this should be the outskirts of Inshu. His mudball palace trembled slightly, and a divine consciousness that was like an ocean surged out. With him as the center, it covered the surroundings. Suddenly, his divine consciousness moved and looked southwest. He said, there's someone over there. There seemed to be traces of a battle. After saying that, he waved his sleeve and immediately teleported the two of them in the southwest direction. Not long after, an ocean appeared in front of him. Above the boundless sea, there was a huge warship traveling at high speed. Behind the warship, there was an overwhelming amount of black gas chasing after it. The black energy enveloped everything like a ferocious beast opening its bloody mouth, wanting to swallow the warship in one gulp. From the black fog that occasionally caught up to the warship, countless monsters screamed shrilly and smashed towards the warship like dense raindrops. It caused the warship's speed to decrease greatly, and it kept swaying. Oh no, it's the merfolk tribe. Yang Tian's expression changed slightly when he saw the merfolk pattern on the mast of the warship. Old Yi, it's the merfolk tribe. Quick, save them. Boom. In reality, Yi Chun had already attacked before he could say anything. At that moment, dense purple divine lightning appeared on Yi Chun's body. It crackled nonstop as countless electric arcs spread out like snakes. Thunder techniques were the best choice for this demon. Yi Chun took a step forward, and the area within a radius of 5 kilometers was instantly covered by endless lightning. Countless dense electric arcs surged toward the black energy that covered the sky. At that moment, he seemed to have transformed into a god of thunder, making people despair. As the lightning and black energy mixed, countless shrill screams rang out at the same time. The sound made one's hair stand on end. The demonic energy clouds at the back seemed to have encountered their natural enemy. They retreated with all their might, not daring to fight head-on. In just a few breaths of time, the demonic energy above everyone's heads was completely cleared, and the sky seemed to have become much brighter. Yang Tian could no longer hold it in and charged toward the warship. Chapter 1646. On the huge warship in the vast sea, the resplendent lightning gradually dissipated. Many of the injured merfolk were dumbfounded. The terrifying demonic cloud that had chased them all the way was destroyed so easily. Father, we're fine. The merfolk lady, Yu Feishuan, who was in charge of defense on the deck, immediately walked into the cabin excitedly after she reacted. In the spacious cabin, Yu Taiyuan's glabella was black, and his aura was extremely weak, as if he was severely injured. I wonder which expert did it. Yu Taiyuan took a deep breath in, as if it was extremely strenuous. A look of survival flashed between his brows. Father-in-law. As soon as he finished speaking, an incomparably familiar voice rang out from outside, causing Yu Taiyuan and his daughter to tremble. At the next moment, a boorish figure dashed in quickly, followed by a green-clothed young man and a black-clothed young man. It was Yi Chun and the rest. After seeing Yang Tian's face clearly, Yu Taiyuan could not help but cough repeatedly. Brat, you're finally back. Are you hurt? Sensing that something was wrong with his aura, Yang Tian hurriedly went forward to check. His expression changed slightly as he said, "What a strange demonic energy. I won't die." Yu Taiyuan shook his head lightly. He struggled to get up and clasped his fists at Yi Chun. "Thank you for saving my life, fellow Yi." For some reason, even though it had only been a few days since they last met, he felt that the pressure Yi Chun gave him was getting more and more terrifying. Yi Chun checked on him and could not help but frown. "Fellow Yu, demonic energy entered your body and injured your meridians. What exactly happened?" Meeting his gaze, Yu Taiyuan sat down and said with a bitter smile, "Fellow Yi, you might not know this, but not long after you left, a demonic disaster broke out. The demonic earth cracked directly, and something seemed to have happened to the World Guardian. It was unable to suppress the demonic disaster in time. After that, the entire Een ruins fell completely, and demonic energy swept through everything. We were no exception. We were forced to flee to the Guardian Spirit tribe to seek refuge." At this point, he took a deep breath in. "I didn't expect to be intercepted halfway. If fellow Yi hadn't arrived in time, I'm afraid we would have been buried by the demonic disaster today." "Mr. Yi, why did you guys come back so late?" Yu Feishuan said, "You don't know this, but Een Ruins is in a mess right now. Countless monsters are wreaking havoc in everything. They are extremely strange, and wherever they go, nothing is left. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, I'm late. Yi Chun slowly recounted what had happened on Earth. After listening, Yu Taiyuan shook his head slightly and said, "It seems that the demon race is very ambitious. This time, they are coming with great momentum. My Inshu and Earth are bound together. We are bound together for good or bad." You said that something happened to the World Guardian? May I know what kind of accident it is? Patriarch Yellow Spring, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke. Yi Chen's eyes gleamed slightly when he heard that. This was also what he did not understand. Logically speaking, since the World Guardian was able to guard the entire Yin ruins, its strength naturally couldn't be underestimated. Why would it tolerate the demonic soil to erupt? Yu Taiyuan's lips moved slightly as he said something that moved Yi Chun, because the demon clan has chosen to join forces with the Nether clan. Not only are there demons in the demonic soil, but there's also a portion of the Nether clan. They originally had no interaction, Yu Taiyuan said at a moderate pace. However, for some reason, the Nether clan suddenly woke up from their slumber 2 days ago. It was as if they were provoked by something, and then they chose to join forces with the demon clan. 2 days ago, Yi Chen's pupils constricted slightly when he heard that. 2 days ago, wasn't it the day Su Yuhan broke through after swallowing the longevity pill? The commotion she caused at that time was quite spectacular. Could it be that the awakening of the Nether clan was related to Su Yuhan? He secretly suppressed this thought and said, "Fellow Yu, may I know what's the situation in Yin ruins now?" "It's not ideal." Yu Feishuan continued. "After the demonic disaster erupted, many people died. Many forces chose to submit to the demon clan. Only a small number of forces banded together to resist them. Even Tianyuan City and the great Jiang God dynasty submitted." Yi Chun was a little surprised. "That's right." Yu Feishuan nodded heavily. "Apart from that, there's also the Heavenly Jade, Holy Land, and so on. The forces that are unwilling to submit are led by the Panwu Immortal Sect." "Fellow Yi," Yu Taiyuan suddenly said, "the Panwu Immortal Sect and the other forces have all moved to the Guardian Spirit Tribe. I heard that the Guardian Spirit Tribe is being attacked by demons now, and the situation isn't looking good." "Why did the Panwu Immortal Sect move to the Guardian Spirit Tribe?" Yi Chen was stunned at first. Then, he seemed to have thought of something. Could it be related to the wizard in the Guardian Spirit Tribe stone tower? Outsiders might not know much about the Guardian Spirit Tribe, but Yi Chen knew very well that although the Guardian Spirit Tribe was not powerful, they had an ancestral tower. Di Jiang, one of the 12 witches, happened to be sleeping in it. "That's right." Yu Taiyuan nodded and said, "After the Panwu Immortal Sect and the other forces retreated to the Guardian Spirit Tribe, the demons attacked on a large scale. At the critical moment, the Guardian Spirit Tribe's ancestral tower suddenly unleashed its protective power, protecting the entire tribe within it. That's how they managed to hold on until now. Looks like Di Zhang's whereabouts have been exposed." Yi Chen lifted his head slightly, his gaze rather cold. "I'd like to see how many powerhouses this so-called demon clan has sent." Chapter 1647. Following that, the Patriarch of Hell and Yang Tian worked together to control the warship. It immediately sped towards the core of the Yin ruins, the Guardian Spirit Tribe. Meanwhile, Yi Chun stayed in the cabin to treat Yu Taiyuan's injuries. The demonic aura was extremely corrosive. If the demonic aura in his body was not removed in time, Yu Taiyuan would lose all his true yuan and become a cripple. In the worst case, he would be assimilated into a demon. Fortunately, they did not encounter any terrifying demons along the way. Even if there were a small portion, they were dealt with by the Patriarch of Hell. An hour later, the warship came to a stop. Yi Chen walked out of the cabin and narrowed his eyes as he looked into the distance. In his line of sight, he saw a monstrous demonic aura sweeping across the sky. The entire sky was wrapped in surging demonic aura, and countless shrill cries rang out from within. Yi Chen's gaze pierced through the dense demonic aura and finally saw a layer of purple light rising into the sky from the deepest depths. Within the purple light barrier, there was a small village that looked like a paradise that was tightly protected. One could vaguely see an ancient stone tower, mysterious and terrifying. The enormous light barrier was like a giant bowl that had been inverted from above, and then it enveloped the entire guardian spirit tribe. The light barrier was purple in color, and it was crystal clear like glass, but it was filled with an indestructible feeling. At this moment, there were countless figures standing within the guardian spirit tribe. Every face was filled with nervousness, and every gaze was fearful as they looked at the monstrous demonic clouds outside the light barrier. In front of the monstrous demonic clouds stood many figures with powerful auras. If one took a closer look, they would discover that all of these figures emitted a strange and evil demonic aura. Many people's gazes were directed at the purple light barrier above their heads. They could see that outside the light barrier, there were demonic beasts that covered the sky and covered the earth. They were like raindrops that fearlessly rammed against the light barrier. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the rich purple light barrier would become a little dimmer, and it would even shake slightly. Seeing this scene, many people's faces turned gloomy and somewhat pale. It could be said that this barrier was their final life-saving talisman. If even he broke through it, it would mean that they would be completely exposed to the monstrous demonic shadow. In the crowd, an old man in a Taoist robe took a deep look at the protective barrier that was shaking more and more frequently. He couldn't help but turn around and say, "Fellow Taoist Jew, is there still no movement from that person?" The one who had spoken was none other than Lei Yunzi. The person he spoke of was the one in the ancestral pagoda. Hearing his words, Julie could not help but bitterly smile and say, "Brother Lei Yun, I've already tried my best to contact the ancestor, but there was no response from the ancestor. I don't know if he's still in a deep sleep." The protective barrier is about to break. The Panwu immortal sex, old man Black Ice, who had been silent all this while, sighed faintly. "Everyone, we can't go on like this. Prepare to fight to the death." His voice fell. The atmosphere at the scene instantly became a little tragic. Obviously, no one was optimistic about their fate. At that moment, the shaking protective barrier suddenly stopped. At the same time, the many demonic monsters that were madly crashing into the protective barrier also stopped. At the same time, a faint voice came from outside the protective barrier. "Lei Yunzi, how long are you going to hold on?" Everyone immediately looked up and saw a black-robed young man slowly walking out from the monstrous demonic shadow outside the protective barrier. The black-robed young man had silver hair and a pair of extremely demonic eyes. There was a black lotus mark between his brows, making him look like the reincarnation of an ancient demon lord. "Huang Fuyu, what right do you have to talk to me?" Lei Yunzi could not help but scoff. "You're a human, and you're also the descendant of great Emperor Xinyuan. It's fine that you don't know how to protect everything, but you actually acknowledged a traitor as your father and chose to collude with the demons." He was extremely heartbroken. In the past, he had also regarded Huang Fuyu as the hope of the 8 Xinyuan races and even China's future. However, after Huang Fuyu failed to obtain the monarch seal in the wilderness god's tomb and joined forces with the Gu family to rebel, he was completely disappointed in the former. What infuriated him even more was that the outbreak of Yin Su's devil disaster was related to the former. "Old man, what right do you have to talk to me?" Huang Fuyu smiled evilly as if he was disdainful. "So what if I'm a human? So what if I'm a demon? As the saying goes, every man for himself will be destroyed by heaven and earth. I've only chosen the path that suits me. Besides, don't you think you're too noble?" His gaze was slightly cold. "You think that I, Huang Fuyu, failed to obtain the monarch seal and lost the Yichun, so you're sucking up to Yichun. At the end of the day, aren't you a sucker?" Be Astra starred. Hearing that, Lei Yunzi was almost angered to death. "I'll give you one last chance." Huang Fuyu took a deep breath in and sneered. "On account that we're all humans from Earth, as long as you're willing to open the protective barrier and submit to me, I might spare your life. Dream on." Lei Yunzi immediately laughed out loud. "Do you think I'm a shameless person like you? What's the joy in life, and what's the pain in death? I've cultivated for more than 1,000 years, and I've lived long enough. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Huang Fu Yu snorted coldly and waved his hand. Attack with all your might. I don't believe that this turtle shell can protect them forever. Yes, young master. The many demonic shadows behind him responded and immediately whistled out. They erupted with a monstrous pressure and crazily bombarded the protective barrier. Lei Yunzi and the rest immediately fell into despair. Right at that moment, an extremely indifferent voice suddenly exploded in the sky. I never expected that the dignified number 1 genius of the 8 Xinyuan clans would actually fall to such a state. How pitiful! How lamentable! Chapter 1648. As this sudden voice fell, it was as if the sky had turned dark. At that moment, everyone could not help but look up. Lei Yunzi and the others were stunned at first. Then they seemed to have thought of something, and a hint of surprise flashed through their eyes. On the other hand, Huang Fu Yu narrowed his eyes, and a cold glint appeared in the depths of his eyes. At that moment, everyone felt an irresistible pressure from the depths of their hearts, whistling over from the distant void. The pressure was so powerful that it moved everyone. Boom! Thunder suddenly exploded in the oppressive sky. In an instant, the entire sky was filled with lightning arcs that swam like snakes, accompanied by the roar of thunder. Thunder rumbled, and the world lost its color. At the next moment, under everyone's gazes, a huge warship tore through the sky. The warship seemed to be carried by thunderclouds, riding the wind and waves. On the warship, there was a figure in green standing against the wind, as if he was proud of the endless lightning and looked down on everything. It's Mad Southern Yi. Seeing this scene, the stunned Lei Yunzi and the others finally reacted. Their faces that were originally filled with despair suddenly revealed a hint of surprise. It really is him. Huang Fu Yu's expression gradually darkened. Under the terrifying heavenly might of the lightning, the demonic clouds that enveloped the world seemed to have encountered their natural enemy, and they scattered in all directions. 1,000,000 demonic might was repelled by a single person. At the same time, in the depths of Insu, 3 resplendent eyes opened at the same time. This guy is finally here. Facing the pressure of the huge warship, no one dared to make a move. They just watched as the huge warship passed through the purple barrier and finally landed in front of Lei Yunzi and the others. Lei Yunzi said in surprise, "Fellow Yi, you came at the right time." The others were also surprised. Yichen nodded slightly. Then, he lifted his head to look at the ancient stone tower beside him. His divine will surged into it. Di Jiang. Your injuries haven't healed yet? Under the detection of his divine will, the motionless giant's body finally bloomed with purple light. You're finally here. I'm afraid I'll have to rely on you this time. Di Jiang's voice followed. My injuries have reached the most critical stage. I need 3 more days to fully recover, so I can't fight for now. Sure, I'll guard you for 3 days. Yichen nodded lightly. Do not underestimate them, Di Jiang said in a low voice. The nether race and the demon race have joined hands. There might be experts no weaker than me among them. Remember, I know what to do. Yichen's eyes gleamed slightly, and he immediately retracted his divine consciousness. Lei Yunzi stepped forward and said, Fellow Taoist Yi, you have to be careful. Huang Fu Yu has completely demonized now. There seems to be a terrifying existence in his body. It was it that injured the World Guardian. A terrifying existence. Yichen's heart skipped a beat. He could not help but glance at Huang Fu Yu outside. He recalled the dark light that had saved Huang Fu Yu previously. Was it the Demon Emperor or something even more terrifying? Huang Fu Yu is known as the young lord of the demons. Lei Yunzi continued. All of the devilish beings are completely obedient to him, and none of them dare to oppose him. Yichen said nothing. He lifted his eyes to look at the monstrous demonic shadow outside the purple light shield that was gradually weakening. He saw a lot of people. For example, Fang Tianxin from the Tianyuan Chamber of Commerce, Fang Ziyue, and even many people from the 8 Xinyuan clans. All of them were standing behind Huang Fu Yu. Clearly, he was the leader. This made him frown, and he was slightly puzzled. What surprised him the most was that he actually saw a familiar figure. It was Feng Wuxie. This person was dressed in black. When he saw his gaze, Feng Wuxie's expression was very cold, as if he did not know him. Yi Chan said slowly, "Brother Feng, do you want to be my enemy too?" Feng Wuxie's lips moved slightly, but he hesitated to speak. At that moment, a cold voice rang out. "What, Brother Feng? Do you, a lowly human from the lower realm, deserve to be brothers with the nether race?" The person who spoke was a woman in black. The woman was exceptionally beautiful. To be precise, she was bewitching. She looked like a proud orchid in an empty valley, and her aura was very cold. Yi Chen's eyes flashed. "You're from the nether race?" "My name is Hao Yue." The woman in black looked at him coldly. "You're the human ant who killed my master, Mad Southern Yi, right?" The moment she said that, the many nether race experts standing around her looked at him with boiling, killing intent. "Killed your master?" Yi Chan frowned slightly. "When did I kill your master?" "Brother Yi, why are you still pretending at a time like this?" Huang Fuyu chuckled. "Ms. Hao Yue is from a nether race, and I saw you kill the reincarnation of the nether race's master with my own eyes. Are you still going to deny it? So you're the one who's trying to sow discord." Yi Chen finally understood when he saw the faint smile on his face. Clearly, Huang Fuyu was the one who had instigated the nether race and claimed that he had killed Su Yuhan. That was why the nether race chose to join forces with the demon race to destroy the entire Yin ruins. "Brother Yi," Feng Wuxie, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke. He looked at Yi Chan with an extremely complicated expression. "Do you still remember what I said to you? You have the aura of an old friend. And this old friend is the reincarnation of the nether race's master." He stared at Yi Chan fixedly. "Initially, I thought you were related to the nether race's reincarnation, so I helped you. I didn't expect you to disappoint me. You actually destroyed the only hope of the nether race." "Nonsense." Yi Chan chuckled. "Feng Wuxie, you're a genius after all. You actually believed Huang Fuyu's words. You've really disappointed me. You're still quibbling even when you're about to die." The woman in black, named Hao Yue, said coldly, "Young Master Huang Fuyu has already revealed that you're brother and sister with Master's reincarnation. You even destroyed the family that Master's diamond body was in." "That's right." Huang Fuyu nodded sincerely and said, "This person is extremely despicable. Not only did he kill Sister Yuhan, he even destroyed my reincarnation." Feng Wuxie. Yi Chen suddenly looked at Feng Wuxie. "What if I tell you that not only did I not kill Yuhan, but she's even my wife?" Hearing that, Feng Wuxie was shocked. He seemed to be in disbelief. Yi Chan spoke again. "What if I tell you that Huang Fuyu, whom you trust, colluded with the demon tribe and sent 2 demon kings to kill Yuhan, but they were killed instead?" Huang Fuyu's expression changed quietly when he said that. Feng Wuxie stopped listening to his quibbling. The woman in black laughed out of anger. She said with monstrous hatred, "The human race's words can't be trusted since the beginning. Killing Master is equivalent to making the entire nether race your enemy. Young Master Huang Fu, why are you still standing there?" Huang Fuyu took a deep breath in after hearing that. Then he smiled coldly. "Everyone attack with all your might. Flatten this place. P.S. Hemorrhoids are acting up. There's only 1 chapter today. Please forgive me." Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 1649. Between heaven and earth, demonic clouds condensed once again and frantically charged at the purple energy barrier that protected the entire guardian spirit tribe. Rumble. Under everyone's gazes, the purple energy barrier finally shook violently a few times. Then, with a loud bang, it turned into an incomparably violent energy that swept out. "The protection has been broken." Everyone turned pale with fright. Lei Yunzi roared, "Don't panic." Boom! At the same time, a shocking treasure awakened and overflowed with a terrifying pressure. It slashed out waves of vast killing intent towards each other. "Human ants die." The black-clothed woman from the Nether clan, Hao Yue, had a huge black scythe above her head. Terrifying killing intent swept through the sky, and her entire body moved like lightning. Nether treasure? And it's a master stage Netherlord. Yi Chen narrowed his eyes. Clearly, He did not expect this young, black-clothed woman to be a soul-seizing powerhouse who was comparable to a perfected void refinement cultivator. Facing the black-clothed woman who was swinging the huge black scythe at him with a face full of killing intent, Yi Chen's eyes turned cold. Yi Chen's eyes turned cold, and he attacked instantly. He threw a punch in the air. Vast, true origin energy turned into a golden fist force. It was like the hand of God as it punched at the black-clothed woman. Boom! His punch seemed simple, but in reality, it was like tens of thousands of fist shadows stacked on top of each other, sealing off the black-clothed woman's path from all directions. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the punch landed squarely on the huge black scythe in the black-clothed woman's hand. Kacha! With a crisp sound, the huge black scythe that the black-clothed woman regarded as a treasure exploded into countless pieces. The black-clothed woman was sent flying by the terrifying force. Feng Wuxia, who was watching from the side, flashed and hurriedly caught her. Are you all right? At the same time, he was extremely shocked. It was because Yi Chen seemed to have become stronger again. He was only at beginner stage void refinement, but he actually defeated a master stage netherlord with a single punch. Get lost! The black-clothed woman spat a mouthful of blood and pushed him away. Then, she charged at Yi Chen again with killing intent on her face. Feng Wuxia, Yi Chen said coldly, I'll spare this lady's life for your sake. If she attacks again, don't blame me for being ruthless. Theoretically, he had nothing to do with the Nether clan. However, things became a little troublesome after he had Su Yuhan. Bastard! The dark-robed lady's face was filled with rage, but her body suddenly trembled and her acupoint was sealed by Feng Wuxia, rendering her immobile. Sorry for the offense. Feng Wuxia ignored her furious glare and lifted her up with one hand as he quickly retreated backwards. The underworld tribe's experts behind him immediately stepped forward to protect the two of them. Huang Fuyu, who had been watching the show, had a grim expression on his face when he saw that. Clearly, he realized that Yi Chen's ability had improved again. Kill! Yi Chen's elegance immediately infected everyone. Accompanied by an earth-shattering roar, streams of powerful true origin energy surged out. Then, they fearlessly attacked the monstrous demonic shadow in the distance. Patriarch, you should also go and stretch your muscles. The Patriarch of Hell grinned and disappeared on the spot. After him, Yang Tian, Yu Taiyuan, and the rest attacked one after another. A great battle ensued. Only the sounds of battle filled the sky. Only Yi Chen and Huang Fuyu did not move at all from the beginning to the end. In the end, Huang Fuyu smiled slightly. Brother Yi, your growth has surprised me once again. Today, let me witness your true strength. Boom! At the next moment, the demonic energy that enveloped the world became countless times denser. Monstrous demonic energy erupted from Huang Fuyu's body. The density of the demonic energy actually covered everything else. Demon King. Huang Fuyu had actually grown all the way to the Demon King stage. Brother Yi, are you surprised? Huang Fuyu was shrouded in monstrous demonic energy. His blood-red eyes were so deep that it was terrifying. I'm not afraid to tell you that I've been adopted by the Demon Lord of the Demon Clan. Do you know what a Demon Lord is? The demonic energy around his body covered the sky and earth, and a black vertical eye between his brows could pierce one's soul. A terrifying crack seemed to have been torn open behind him. Demonic shadows were everywhere, as if there were 3,000 ancient demons roaring at the same time. Demon Lord. Even though he was mentally prepared, Yi Chen was still slightly shocked. Demon Lord. In the demon world, those above the Demon Emperor were equivalent to Mahayana powerhouses. One step further, and they would be existences at the heavenly demon level. Heavenly demons often made countless Mahayana old monsters' scalps go numb. Brother Yi, you and I are fated enemies. As Huang Fuyu spoke, the 3,000 demonic shadows behind him became even more ferocious. Before I met you, I was Su Yuhan, the #1 genius of Shang Santian. After being killed by you and reborn, I became the #1 genius of the Xianyuan 8 clans of Yinsu. I didn't expect you to make me feel defeated again and again. But I don't hate you." At this point, he grinned, and the 3,000 demonic shadows behind him roared in unison. "I'm actually grateful to you. If it weren't for you, I would only be a genius limited to a corner. Your appearance has made me stronger again and again. Especially this time, I was adopted by my godfather as his son. I learned that Earth is just a small star zone. There's a wider world outside. Really, I'm grateful to you." He walked toward Yi Chun as he spoke. He was like a black demon star that streaked across the sky. "In return, I'll kill you. Only by killing you can I heal my shattered Tao heart. Only by killing you can I become the peerless demon lord that suppresses all worlds." "You talk too much nonsense." Yi Chun took a step forward. A shocking Sanskrit voice that sounded like a Buddhist lion's roar came from his mouth. Subsequently, 3,000 images appeared behind him. The 3,000 images were like ancient Buddhas. They looked solemn and dignified as they chanted Sanskrit in unison, cleansing everything, causing the demonic energy between heaven and earth to tremble. If there were people from the immortal world present, they would definitely notice the divine ability that Yi Chun had used, the world-cleansing lotus. The supreme divine ability of the immortal world's heavenly dragon temple could cleanse a world. "The fated battle between us will end today." Huangfu Yu's eyes flashed. Subsequently, the 3,000 demonic shadows behind him moved their hands at the same time. They charged at Yi Chun like divine chains of order. "TSK." Yi Chun spat out the mantra. The moment the Buddhist mantra was spoken, it was earth-shattering. It was as if the 3,000 Buddha images behind him were spitting out the earth-shattering mantra at the same time. "TSK." The words resounded through heaven and earth. The earth-shattering power of the Buddhist mantra was as vast as the sea. With Yi Chun as the center, it swept out in all directions like a flood bursting a dam. At that moment, countless demonic shadows let out shrill screams under the mantra, and their souls were destroyed on the spot. Chapter 1650. Boom! The power of truth collided with the divine chains of order unleashed by Huangfu Yu's 3,000 demonic shadows, causing countless voids to be annihilated. Thud, 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 thud. At that moment, Yi Chun and Huangfu Yu retreated at the same time. Clearly, both of them had won and lost in their first exchange. Huangfu Yu's mouth and nose were bleeding, and even the corners of his eyes and eardrums were bleeding. However, he smiled even more happily. "I have to say, you've surprised me once again, but still can't change the fact that you're going to die." 7 emotions palm. In the next moment, he attacked again. 7 colorful rays of light whizzed out from the tip of his fingers, like 5 giant pillars of different colors. At that moment, Lei Yunzi and the rest, who were fighting, felt their bodies loosen up. There was an indescribable feeling, as if something had flown out of their bodies. It was the 7 emotions and 6 desires in their hearts. The so-called 7 emotions palm was a supreme divinity of the Devil Tao. It used the 7 emotions of a person as its foundation to condense a palm that represented 7 extreme emotions. Unless one's heart was truly pure, they would definitely fall under this divinity. Boom! The 7 pillars of light of different colors that turned into 5 pillars that could hold up the sky immediately suppressed Yi Chun. The might could suppress heaven and earth. True Dragon Paragon skill. Yi Chun did not panic at all. He formed a seal with his hand, and true dragon phantoms leaped out from his fingertips. Then, they let out an earth-shaking dragon roar and soared into the sky. Rumble! The battle between the two of them was intense. Divine light collapsed. An invisible killing intent swept everything. Wisps of demonic energy and true origin supreme force surged in all directions, causing the world to lose its color. Divinity and spells clashed intensely, and the physical body and the demonic body collided wildly. Everyone was horrified. The power that Yi Chun and Huangfu Yu displayed at that moment had long surpassed the limits of the void refinement stage. It almost made the mountains and rivers lose their color, and the sun and moon lose their light. Feng Wuxia, who was watching from afar, said without turning his head, "Do you see that? You're no match for such a person." The woman, called Haiyue, said nothing, but there was a flash of shock in the depths of her pitch-black eyes. She had to admit that no matter if it was Yi Chun or Huang Fuyu, the talent and combat strength that they displayed were beyond her imagination. She couldn't help but snort coldly. "Are you afraid? Have you forgotten the boundless kindness Master has shown to our clan? Are you afraid of a mere human ant?" "I'm not afraid." Feng Wuxia frowned slightly and looked at the two figures fighting fiercely in the distance and said, "Although I have not known Brother Yi for long, but I believe that he is a righteous and arrogant person. If he really killed Master's reincarnation, he will not deny it." "Five elements, devil grand magic," Huang Fuyu shouted and waved his hand violently. He forcibly extracted a large amount of devil chi from the world and turned it into 5 ferocious-looking giant devil shadows. The 5 devilish figures had monstrous devilish chi on their bodies, and their eyes were blood red. Their auras were actually not the slightest bit inferior to 5 cultivators at the peak of the void tempering stage. 5 elements demon grand magic? Yi Chen's calm expression changed slightly. Is that the divinity of the 5 great devil emperors? The so-called 5 elements demon grand magic was a branch of the 5 great devil emperors' divinity. It gathered the essence of the 5 elements and merged it with the souls and evil energy of millions of living beings to refine 5 great devils. These 5 great devils were the 5 natal devils of the caster. They could absorb the souls of mortals to grow, and they were extremely strange. If I'm not wrong, your so-called godfather is probably the descendant of the 5 great devil emperors, right? Yichen took a good look at Huang Fuyu. As the 5 giant devil shadows swarmed out, they immediately let out extremely strange and evil laughter. They swarmed at Yichun at the same time. Primordial heavenly divine lightning outline. Yichun squinted and shouted. He quickly drew a talisman on his right palm and raised his palm. Lightning come. Rumble. In an instant, lightning appeared in the air and thunder rumbled. Terrifying bolts of lightning descended from the sky and struck the 5 devil shadows. The primordial heavenly divine lightning outline was the ultimate skill that the Thunder Emperor and the Lightning Mother cultivated together. It was the pinnacle of innate lightning, suppressing all evil in the world. Boom, boom. Under everyone's gazes, lightning and fire surged between heaven and earth. Miserable screams rang out endlessly, as if the world was about to be destroyed. At the same time, in an abyss in Insu, a peerless saber gleam streaked across the sky, and then a voice that seemed to be excited and confused sounded, "Primordial heavenly divine lightning outline, apart from the Thunder Emperor and the Lightning Mother. Only the Emperor is proficient in this divinity. The Emperor is in this world." Boom! The saber gleam tore through the sky, ignoring the monstrous demonic energy that enveloped the entire Insu and flying towards the Guardian Spirit tribe. Within the monstrous demonic energy, many demons attacked at the same time, as if they wanted to stop it. However, as a saber gleam streaked past, not a single blade of grass grew within a 1,000-kilometer radius. Almost at the same time, in a mysterious space somewhere in Insu, an extremely weak voice seemed to be murmuring, "This is the primordial heavenly divine lightning outline? Impossible! This is impossible. The primordial heavenly divine lightning outline only exists in the immortal region. How could it appear in this world?" Boom! Boom! Under the monstrous lightning tribulation, the 5 gigantic devil shadows that Huang Fuyu had summoned collapsed on the spot. He spat a mouthful of blood and retreated heavily. Every time he took a step back, a bloody footprint would appear on the ground. The most terrifying thing was that there was a crack between his brows that slowly cracked open all the way to his chest. In the end, his entire chest exploded. He was sent flying and coughed up blood repeatedly. His face was filled with disbelief. You actually broke my 5 elements demon technique? Defeated. He was defeated. The demon master had taken him in as his godson, and he had even been personally enlightened by the demon master and taught him demonic divinity. However, he was defeated. Moreover, it was the 3rd time he had been defeated by Yi Chun. You were wrong about something earlier. Yi Chun, who was dressed in green, walked toward him step by step with his long hair fluttering in the wind. You said that you're my fated enemy. You've overestimated yourself. Do you think that you can crush me just because you've been taken in as the demon master's godson and obtained the demon master's inheritance? He looked at Huang Fuyu with incomparable mockery. You're wrong. I don't even care about the demon master behind you, let alone you, a pawn in his eyes. In terms of knowledge, Huang Fu, you could not compare to him. In terms of divinity and spells, no matter how powerful Huang Fu Yu was, how could he compare to him, who had once ascended to the top of the heavenly realm and read all the secret manuals of the various sects? Ha ha ha! Huang Fu Yu spat a mouthful of blood, and a strange smile appeared on his pale face. Brother Yi, do you think you can kill me this time? End of this chapter. Chapter 1651. Do you think you'll be as lucky as before every time? Yi Chun looked down at the world and quickened his pace toward Huang Fu Yu. With every step he took, the killing intent in his eyes intensified. There was a strange smile on Huang Fu Yu's lips. Boom! At that moment, a terrifying wave that was like an ocean suddenly erupted in the void. Then, for demonic clouds swarmed over and gathered above everyone's heads. Above the demonic clouds, there were 4 terrifying auras. Clearly, Huang Fu Yu had come prepared this time. The demon clan had sent 4 demon kings. The demonic clouds surged, and their auras pressed down on the mountains and rivers, suffocating everyone. The expressions of Lei Yunzi and the rest changed. Lowly human ant die. The 4 demon kings did not waste any time. They attacked Yi Chun together directly. 4 terrifying beams of light pierced through the air and shot at Yi Chun's head. I've been waiting for you guys for a long time. Yi Chun smirked coldly and took the initiative to attack the former. His eyes were bright, and he unleashed his divine might. His arm was like a rock sweeping across. It was incomparably resplendent, twisting the void and emitting shocking fluctuations. What is he doing? Someone shouted hurriedly when they saw this. He wants to fight 4 alone. Oh my God. Everyone was completely shocked. Those were 4 demon kings. All of them were comparable to soul-splitting stage cultivators. Meanwhile, Yi Chun was only at the beginner stage void refinement. How dare he be so confident? You're courting death. Huang Fu Yu could not help but sneer when he saw this. One had to know that these 4 demon kings were the 4 most powerful generals under the 6-leaf demon emperor. When they joined forces, even he would have to retreat. How could Yi Chun be their match? Boom! The void began to collapse. The sky was trembling, and the surroundings were dark. It was extremely violent. Only Yi Chun's hand, that was like a Kuan Peng, struck the heavens and the earth. The dazzling light made people dizzy, and the aura made their hearts tremble. The vast aura rolled down, suppressing the 4 demon kings. Oh no! At that moment, the 4 demon kings seemed to have sensed something. Their eyes were filled with shock as if they had seen a ghost. Their figures were about to retreat rapidly. However, they were horrified to discover that the space around them was firmly sealed. Boom! As Yi Chun's hand fell, the void where the 4 devils were was directly turned into a vacuum zone. Countless void storms spewed out from it, sweeping everything away. The 4 demon kings were killed by Yi Chun as if they had never existed in this world. My God! He killed 4 demons with 1 palm. At that moment, everyone who saw this scene was dumbfounded and their heartbeat accelerated. Those were 4 demon kings comparable to spirit-severing stage cultivators. Love me, just how powerful was Mad Southern Yi? The smile on Huang Fu Yu's face was permanently frozen on his face. Extreme shock flashed in the depths of his eyes as he said in a cold voice, How is this possible? All hail, Heavenly Lord Yi. The human race is blessed. Lei Yunzi was so excited that his eyes were brimming with tears of excitement. Boom! At that moment, powerful and excited voices filled the world. Heavenly Lord Yi is mighty. The human race is blessed. Under the tsunami of voices, Feng Wuxie stared quietly at the figure standing proudly in the air, his expression becoming more and more complicated. Is this what you're relying on? Yichen walked toward Huang Fuyu with his hands behind his back. There was a hint of playfulness at the corner of his lips. Do you have any regrets now? Huang Fuyu chuckled, his expression extremely grim. At that moment, a lady in red appeared before Yi Chun and stopped him. Mr. Yi, you can't kill him. It was Feng Ziyue from the Tianyuan Chamber of Commerce. Why not? Yi Chun chuckled. After the demonic disaster broke out, the Tianyuan Chamber of Commerce turned to Huang Fuyu. Naturally, Feng Ziyue was no exception. At that moment, she seemed to have changed into a different person. She was no longer as ethereal as before. Feng Ziyue said slowly, Huang Fuyu is already married to me. He's my cultivation partner. Please spare his life for my sake. Is this the bargaining chip that your Tianyuan Chamber of Commerce has with the demons? Yi Chen's eyes flickered. Clearly, he did not expect Feng Ziyue to make such a choice. Feng Ziyue pursed her lips and begged, That's right, Mr. Yi. Please let him go for the sake of our past friendship. For your sake? There was mockery at the corner of Yi Chen's lips. Since you've surrendered to the demons, you're my enemy. Do you think I'll listen to an enemy? Feng Ziyue's face turned pale when she heard that. Back off. Yi Chen did not bother to talk to her. He waved his sleeve, and Feng Ziyue was shocked to find an irresistible pressure coming at her. Her body flew out uncontrollably. I can't believe that you're relying on a woman to protect yourself now. Lamentable, lamentable. Yi Chen glanced at Huang Fuyu, who was far away, as if he was mocking him. He shook his arm like a rock flapping its wings. A terrifying wind was stirred, and the air was destroyed. Huang Fuyu seemed to be unwilling to give up. Black snake-like scales appeared on his body. He wanted to activate his demon body to fight Yi Chen. Bang! However, he spat another mouthful of blood in the next second. His body flew out uncontrollably. His chest was covered in blood, and he was shaking violently as if he was going to explode at any time. You like a dog before me now? A dog that's drowning. Chapter 1652. Brother Yi, wait. Suddenly, a familiar voice exploded in the air. It was Feng Wuxie. The pair of black horns on his head emitted a black hole-like glow. It forcefully dissolved Yi Chen's terrifying attack. Do you have to be my enemy? Yi Chen's gaze gradually froze. Yi Chen admired Feng Wuxie, but that did not mean that he could tolerate him. If Feng Wuxie continued to make an enemy out of him, Yi Chen would not show him any mercy. I don't want to be enemies with a genius like Brother Yi. Feng Wuxie looked at him sincerely and protected Huang Fuyu behind him. He said, Brother Yi, Huang Fuyu is a cooperative friend of the Nether tribe. I don't want to see him die in front of me. Since that's the case, let's fight. Yi Chen's hair was messy. At that moment, his aura had risen to its peak. He pressed towards Feng Wuxie like a god. Brother Yi, I'm sorry. Feng Wuxie's expression did not change. His pupils suddenly dilated, as if reflecting the shadow of an axe. Then, his pupils expanded to their limits. Hum! Immediately after, an axe shadow shot out from his eye sockets, splitting the space in front of him into two. Brother Yi, if you can force me to retreat, I'll retreat. At that moment, in the blink of an eye, Yi Chen felt a heart-palpitating power from his body. Billions of divine lights erupted from Yi Chen's pupils. As expected, Feng Wuxie was not as simple as he had imagined. What's so difficult about retreating? Yi Chen soared into the sky. His left hand turned into a divine sword. It was sharp and cut through the clouds. With a clang, it slashed at Feng Wuxie. That sword strike was like sword chi that filled the galaxy. Feng Wuxie's expression immediately turned serious. He stretched out his hand, and the huge black axe shadow immediately landed in his hand. It immediately erupted with a brilliance that was like the night. Slash! He shouted softly and swung the black axe shadow with all his might. The world seemed to be split into two, and a faint moonlight rose. Brother Yi, This is the Nether Moon tribe's innate divinity, Crescent Moon. I hope you won't disappoint me. Feng Wuxie's voice rang out. The Nether Moon race? Yi Qin's eyes flashed. The Nether tribe was just a general name. There were many clans within it, such as the Nether Moon tribe, the Nether Phoenix tribe, and the Nether Dragon tribe. Just like how there were yellow, black, and white people in the human race, the Nether Moon race worshipped the moon as their highest religion. Starry River Sword. Yi Chun let out a long howl. In the endless void, countless stars lit up at the same time. It was as dazzling as the starry sky. Yi Chun was like a godly king, pushing the stars one after another toward Feng Wuxie, making it impossible for Feng Wuxie to dodge. Boom! At that moment, the stars in the sky seemed to be chasing after the moon. The starlight that filled the sky moved because of Yi Chun as if they were fighting to surround the crescent moon. A series of earth-shattering sounds exploded in everyone's ears. Everyone felt as if their eardrums were about to burst, and there was only a dazzling brilliance in their eyes. When the strange phenomenon dissipated, Lin Fan's eyes widened. Boom! Yi Chen's eyes shone brightly, and his right eye shone brightly. He threw a punch at Feng Wuxie. Feng Wuxie's expression changed slightly, and he dodged by instinct. Even so, Yi Chen's fist still brushed past his chest, causing his skin to split open and blood to spurt out. Yi Chen unleashed his movement technique to the extreme. It was as if he had transformed into a rock as he descended from the sky. With one foot, he stepped on Feng Wuxie. The two of them maintained that posture as they charged forward, destroying countless voids. Just when everyone thought that Feng Wuxie was dead for sure, Yi Chen suddenly stopped. However, Yi Chen suddenly stopped. He looked down at him and said, "You've lost." Blurg. Feng Wuxie opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood that fell directly burned countless rocks and trees. "Yes, I've lost." A bitter smile appeared at the corner of his lips, and he could not help but take a deep breath. "Thank you for not killing me, Brother Yi. I won't interfere in this matter anymore." After saying that, he did not even look at the shocked Huang Fuyu in the distance. Huang Fuyu. Yi Chen looked at Huang Fuyu in the distance again and walked toward him step by step. "I've defeated everything you relied on. This is the difference between us. It's over." He locked on a Huang Fuyu with his divine telekinesis, and endless killing intent suddenly circulated in his hands, causing Huang Fuyu's expression to change drastically. Under Yi Chen's might, he shuddered at that moment. It was as if he had smelled the aura of the god of death. Boom! Yi Chen used his hand as a sword. It was as if he had transformed into a true Dao dragon as he stabbed at Huang Fuyu's heart ruthlessly. It was indestructible and difficult to block. Suddenly, a wisp of chaotic light descended from the sky and accurately shone on Huang Fuyu. At the same time, a strange pressure surged between heaven and earth. The chaotic light condensed into a huge black altar that hung in the air. On the altar, a figure appeared before everyone like a mirror. The figure wore a black robe, and there were dark golden patterns on the edge of the black robe. The young man's eyes were extremely handsome. At that moment, he had his hands behind his back, and his back was facing everyone. An extremely evil and disdainful aura emanated from his body. Demon Emperor. Yi Chen's expression finally turned grim at that moment. Chapter 1653. Above the huge void, demonic energy surged. Everyone's eyes were on the black-clothed young man. They felt that as this person descended, the pressure between heaven and earth suddenly rose to the extreme. Demon Emperor. Meanwhile, Yi Chen's murmur caused the temperature between heaven and earth to completely cool down. The expressions of the Patriarch of Hell and the rest suddenly became extremely solemn. If the Demon King was equivalent to a soul-splitting cultivator, then the Demon Emperor was no weaker than a fusion stage cultivator. Fusion stage. Thinking to this point, the Patriarch of Hell's heart trembled. He, who was once a tribulation stage patriarch, knew very well what a fusion stage represented. It was far from what Yi Chen could contend against. The black-clothed young man placed his hands behind his back and slowly turned around to face the crowd. His tightly shut, eyes also slowly opened at that moment. Boom! The moment he opened his eyes, the world suddenly became incomparably turbulent, as if a kind of evil that could make people sink into depravity had entered the world. It was so evil that a single glance at it would cause one to fall into the Avicii hell for all eternity. Greetings, Yu Wang. At that moment, all the demons, including Huang Fu Yu, knelt on one knee to the black-clothed man, their expressions incomparably respectful. Bai Ming Yuang smiled at everyone. Her expression was filled with laziness as she stared at everyone. Finally, her gaze landed on Yichun. I didn't expect that in this Forsaken Star region, there would actually be another genius like you. Yichun said expressionlessly, I didn't expect that Earth is just a small kiliocosm. I didn't expect it to be able to shock the demon clan into making such a scene, even sending out the demon emperor. Small kiliocosm? Yu Wang smiled in surprise, then shook her head slightly and said, although Earth is currently a small kiliocosm, a few years ago, it was an existence that leaped into the top 10 of the All-Heaven Top 100 rankings. First, there was Great Emperor Xian Yuan who shook the starry sky, and then there were the 12 witches who swept through the world. How can the temptation of a small kiliocosm that has become an emperor be comparable to that of other heavens? As soon as he said that, the expressions of Lei Yunzi and the rest changed. Clearly, they did not expect the former to know Earth so well. Unfortunately, Bai Ming Yuang acted like she didn't see the expressions of everyone. She continued, the supreme expert of your human race, the Xian Yuan Great Emperor, has long entered the ancient pathway in the starry space, heading to the unknown star regions to wage war. The 12 shamans are either crippled or dead. The luck of this world is already exhausted. If the human race doesn't die, their providence will last forever. Yichun smirked coldly. Aren't you looking down on the humans of Earth too much? Unless the demon clan attacks Earth, the few of you won't be able to do much. Really? Bai Ming Yuang's eyes flashed as she stared at him mischievously. From the looks of things now, you're the strongest native human in this world. After I finish you off, who else can obstruct my devil rays from enslaving this world? His voice fell. His figure seemed to have disappeared from this world. Subsequently, he appeared before Yichun. His speed was terrifying. Good timing. Yichun formed a seal with both hands. Subsequently, dazzling lightning bloomed from his hands and turned into a lightning dragon that charged at the space where he was. Rumble. The lightning dragon roared in rage. Just as it was about to shatter the void, a pitch-black hand grabbed it, causing it to shrink smaller and smaller. In the end, it was forcefully destroyed. You actually used lightning to deal with me. Smart. Bai Ming Yuang calmly smiled, staring at him. Sadly, your cultivation base is still a little too weak. Such an attack is useless against me. As the sound of his voice rang out, a viscous demonic qi gushed forth from his palm. He rushed at Yichun, the killing intent in his eyes causing the hearts of others to palpitate. Yichun's gaze turned heavy. He waved his sleeves and used his hand as a blade. The golden blade slashed down, slashing through everything. That blade was extremely powerful. However, it was like Yu Wang didn't see half of it. She actually allowed the saber light to slash towards her. Under the shocked gazes of everyone, the saber light actually passed through her body, not causing any damage to her at all. Hee, I've already said it. You are too weak. Bai Ming Yuang laughed mockingly. Her hand twisted like a terrifying gigantic beast, aiming for Yichun with an unavoidable force. Is that so? Yichun's eyes flashed. His terrifying physical strength erupted forth, and just when he was about to reveal all his trump cards, suddenly, a purplish-gold pillar of light shot towards Bai Ming Yuang with the speed of lightning. Bai Ming Yuang was forced to retreat heavily. Bai Ming Yuang's expression finally turned heavy. She stared fixedly at the stone pagoda as she enunciated each word slowly. Dijiang, you've recovered? Bai Ming Yuang, it has been so many years since we last met. To think that a trash like you actually dares to swagger in front of me. As the sound of an incomparably imposing voice rang out, a towering figure appeared from the stone pagoda. That towering figure shone with resplendent purple light, like an ancient god descending to the mortal world. He instantly appeared in the vision of everyone. Only now did everyone see his face clearly. That was a middle-aged man with a rugged appearance. He had a head of purple hair, and his eyes were like lightning. His facial features were slightly different from ordinary humans, but the aura he radiated caused the entire space to tremble. It was Dijiang. Seeing his sudden attack, Lei Yunzi was overjoyed. Had the legendary peak powerhouse finally appeared before them? Huang Fuyu and the rest were shocked. Since when did Earth have such a peak figure? Yichan said, "You've recovered?" "That's right." Dijiang nodded slightly. "Thank you for this." In the sky, demonic energy surged. Bai Ming Yohuang's expression became extremely sinister as she stared at Dijiang. "Dijiang, you're really lucky. Not only did the battle back then not kill you, but it also allowed you to recover quickly. Since you demons haven't given up, how can Dijiang die first?" Dijiang smiled faintly. "After all, our mission is to protect this world and completely wipe you all out here." Shameless boasting. Bai Ming Yohuang's gaze turned cold as she said coldly, "You guys are just innate life forms of a mere kiliocosm. How dare you stop our demon army from descending into this world? It's no different from an ant trying to shake a tree. If it weren't for great Emperor Xuanyuan's cutting back then, how could we have lost?" A cold glint flashed in his eyes, and a moment later he said, "But this time, you guys won't be so lucky." After saying that, he waved his hand. "Hell Emperor, what are you waiting for?" As soon as he said that, a huge vortex appeared in the sky. In the vortex, a strange eye opened, shooting out a dark light. The light seemed to illuminate everything. Soon after, under everyone's shocked gazes, an incomparably huge horn extended from the void. The horn was like a bull's horn. It was incomparably large, enough to cover the sky and earth. It was like an unusually majestic, winding mountain range that stretched across the sky. The moment he saw that horn, Dijiang's expression completely froze. An almighty of the Nether tribe? End of this chapter. Chapter 1654. Between heaven and earth, a gigantic bull horn seemed to have pierced through the sky. It was like a winding and vigorous mountain range that blotted out the heavens and the earth, and it enveloped this entire expanse of the heavens and the earth. Under such might, everyone felt a chill run down their spines. It was as if they were facing a god of death. "The Hell Emperor is here." The moment he saw the gigantic bull horn, Feng Wuxie, who had retreated far away, had a slight change in expression. His eyes were filled with intense shock. The Hell Emperor, one of the 18 emperors of the underworld. Back then, he had followed the Lord of the Underworld to attack the spirit realm and made great contributions. He did not expect him to come personally. On the other hand, Yi Chen's expression changed as well. He stared at the rapidly shrinking bullhorn. As the bullhorn shrank, a middle-aged man with a rough appearance slowly appeared before everyone. The man had a pair of bull horns on his head and was dressed in tight clothes. His gaze was terrifying. From afar, he looked like an ancient demon that had descended into this world. Dijiang's voice shook heaven and earth. "Hell Emperor, Earth and the Netherworld clan have always minded our own business. Are you going to help the wicked?" "Dijiang," the Hell Emperor's indifferent voice sounded. "My mission is to find my master's reincarnation and bring her back to the Netherworld to unify the world. Now that her reincarnation has died on Earth, all of you should be buried with her." "Hell Emperor, you're quite a character." Dijiang laughed out of extreme anger. "You actually believe the demon's nonsense so easily?" The Lord of the Underworld is an extremely talented person. He once suppressed all worlds and swept through the heavens. How could he die so easily? "It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not," the Hell Emperor said slowly. "If you know what's good for you, you should give up resisting. You should know that this world can't fight against the combined forces of our two clans." "What a joke." Dijiang smirked coldly. "Since you're so heartless, I'd like to see what you're capable of today. I want to see what's in your head." "I can only deal with one person." After saying that, he secretly sent a voice transmission to Yi Chun. Can you deal with the remaining Yuang? If you can't, I might be able to hold these two back for some time. Take them and escape to the outside world. Escape? That's not my style. Yi Chun coldly glanced at Yuang. In addition, if Yin Su can't stop them, it's useless even if we flee to the outside world. Since that's the case, let's do it. Emperor Jiang sighed softly. He took a step forward and flew across the sky. Hell Monarch, let me have a taste of your skills. Boom. At the same time, the monstrous demonic chi on Yo Huang's body also increased by several times. She looked at Yi Chun with disdain. I'll kill you today. I want to see what hope Earth still has. After saying that, he flicked his finger. As demonic energy surged out, it immediately turned into a gigantic black demonic chain that charged at Yi Chun. First Chinese network. You think I'm afraid of you? Yi Chun's eyes turned completely grim. In the next moment, he took a step forward and clenched his fist. Golden divine lightning suddenly converged from the void, and then turned into a roaring thunder dragon that bared its fangs and brandished its claws at the huge black demonic chain. Boom! With a loud bang, the huge black demonic chain accurately wrapped around the thunder dragon, and then forcefully crushed it, turning it into countless lightning bolts that scattered in all directions. This time, I want to see who can save you. Immediately after, Yo Wang's figure suddenly rushed out. She clenched her hand, and a monstrous demonic hand descended from the sky, slapping towards Yi Chun's head. Roar! At this moment, Yi Chun's physical strength erupted. With a long roar, resplendent golden light erupted from his body, piercing through the clouds and illuminating the entire sky. Boom! Yi Chun's 5 fingers formed a fist and opened and closed. A punch was like 10,000 dragons galloping. That speed actually crushed countless void, not fearing that the gigantic demonic hand would be affected. Boom! In front of everyone's eyes, a dazzling flame suddenly erupted in the vast sky. It was as if 2 stars had collided heavily. Not bad body. In the sky, Yuang sensed the changes in Yi Chun's body. Her eyes narrowed, as if she was surprised. No wonder you have the courage to fight with me. So your body is extraordinary. Unfortunately, it's useless against me. He snorted coldly and lowered his hands gently. Dense demonic energy immediately condensed in his palms, and then his arms actually expanded by several times. His fingertips were like 3-inch blades that were incomparably sharp. As his fingertips rubbed against each other, they actually shattered the air. Die! A cold light flashed in his eyes, and a cold aura surged in his eyes. He actually appeared behind Yi Chun like a ghost, and his demonized right hand immediately stabbed towards Yi Chun's back. Ding, ding, ding! After the surging demonic energy pierced Yi Chun's body, waves of dazzling sparks erupted, but it actually did not pierce through Yi Chun's body. Seeing that her attack had missed, Yo Wang's pupils constricted violently, and then her figure suddenly retreated. Primordial heavenly divine lightning outline. Yi Chun used his hand as a brush and quickly drew a series of talismans on his palm. Then he raised his palm, thunder, boom, boom. In an instant, the heavens and earth lost color, and 10,000 thunder rumbled, suppressing the heavens and earth. Chapter 1655. In the next moment, his body actually disappeared into the void, as if he had disappeared from this world. In the end, the lightning only blasted into the void. Spatial ability? Yi Chun's eyes flashed. Clearly, he did not expect Yu Wang to control spatial ability. Next, Yo Huang's figure appeared again. She raised her hands again, and the dark hand seemed to be able to envelop the sun and moon, blotting out the sky as they pressed down on Yi Chun. Oh no, Heavenly Lord Yi is in danger. Seeing this scene, Lei Yunzi and the others who were standing on the ground and watching this scene turned pale with fright. Yang Tian's expression changed drastically. Patriarch, what should we do? A dark light flashed in the Patriarch of Hell's eyes. Something seemed to be burning, and the aura on his body was climbing at a speed visible to the naked eye. At this moment, An incomparably loud voice suddenly came from the horizon. "Who dares to hurt my master?" Immediately after, under everyone's dazed gazes, a saber gleam that was hundreds of meters long slashed towards Yo Huang's palms that could suppress the heavens and the earth. Wherever the saber gleam passed, all living beings were annihilated. Even the surrounding space turned into chaos. All the sharp weapons in the world seemed to pale in comparison to this saber gleam. This was a saber that killed. The moment the saber gleam appeared, it wanted to kill all the powerhouses in the world. "Master, it's the immortal slaying flying saber. It's the immortal slaying flying saber." At the same time, an extremely excited voice sounded in Yi Chen's mind. It was clearly the knight demon armor's low voice, as if its eyes were brimming with tears. "It's really him." Emperor Brush was shocked. Yi Chen stared blankly at the peerless saber gleam. He could vaguely feel a familiar feeling coming from it. That feeling was like blood was thicker than water. "What's that?" At that moment, the expressions of Di Jiang and Emperor Yin, who were fighting in the depths of the void, changed drastically. Then, they could not help but look over. Even with their strength, they were unable to capture the exact shape of the saber gleam. The only thing they felt was a bone-piercing chill. It was also at this instant that Yo Huang's countenance drastically changed. As the saber gleam approached, the sharpness of the immortal, slaying, flying saber was revealed. Just the impact alone seemed to be able to split the world in half. Clang! Beiming Yu Huang screamed in pain. She only felt a piercing pain in her arms. After that, to her shock, she discovered that after the white light flashed by, her arms were actually severed. This kind of severing not only the connection between the flesh and blood, but also the arms of the devil's soul. It was like a knife cutting through tofu. In other words, no matter how capable he was, he would not be able to recover his broken arms. At most, he would be able to create fake arms. At the same time, a dragon roared in the ninth heaven. A dragon saber with a dragon's head, 9 claws, and a dragon's tail turned into a handle floated in the void. Everything in the world paled in comparison to its sharpness. Emperor Di Jiang, Emperor Yin, Yu Wang, and the others all coughed up blood from their mouths. Even if they had treasures to protect them, they still retreated repeatedly because it was difficult for them to withstand the sharpness of the attack. Yi Chen's immortal weapon from the immortal world, the immortal slaying flying dagger, was here. Under everyone's stunned gazes, the dragon saber with the dragon head blade circled around Yi Chen crazily as if it had met someone familiar. Meanwhile, a voice filled with killing intent resounded between heaven and earth. "I, the immortal slaying flying saber, greet the venerable emperor." "It's really you." Yi Chen's heart trembled as he looked at the weapon that had once followed him to kill many enemies at a close distance. The knight demon armor, Emperor Brush, and the rest were extremely excited. Even Yi Wushuang, who was placed in the 8th divisional pagoda by Yi Chen, let out a monstrous sword hum as if he wanted to come out. Yi Chen took a deep breath in and spread his palm out slowly. Immortal slaying flying saber, return. When he first entered the cultivation world, he had imitated the legendary Taoist, Lord Luya, and refined a magic tool. He had given it a fierce name, Immortal Slaying Flying Saber. This magic tool was one of the few magic tools that had accompanied Yi Chen from a small cultivator to the peak. As soon as he said that, the Immortal Slaying Flying Saber trembled violently and landed in Yi Chen's hand slowly. A dragon's roar shook the heavens, making people feel like they could not help but bow down. Within the Inshu Divine Palace, a seemingly weak voice quietly muttered in the air, "So that divine object is his." Inshu Demon God Forest. Qinsha Wuhan stood quietly, seemingly disappointed and gratified. "I'm not fated with the divine item after all." After seeing the true appearance of the immortal slaying flying saber, the expressions of the Hell Emperor, Yu Wang, and the rest changed. Immortal weapon. This is an immortal weapon. Such a thought flashed through the minds of the two of them, especially Yu Wang. He came from the devil world, and the devil world had fought with the immortal world more than once. Therefore, He was extremely familiar with immortal weapons. He did not expect that an immortal weapon would appear in this small world. What shocked him the most was that this immortal weapon actually belonged to Yi Chun. With the saber in his hand, Yi Chun's aura suddenly changed. It was as if he had transformed into an ancient god that made people look up to him. Yo Huang's pupils constricted violently, as if she had recalled something. She suddenly looked at him and said, "Why you are?" He really wanted to say that Yi Chun was the former master of the immortal world, Heavenly Emperor Yi. As soon as this thought appeared in his mind, it caused him to shudder. Heavenly Emperor Yi, who had once been ambushed by the masters of the demon world, Buddha world, and devil world, and a great overarching golden immortal, was actually still alive. However, before he could finish, he heard Yi Chun say softly, "Immortal slaying." Chapter 1656. Immortal slaying. Whoosh! At that moment, in the entire sky, it was as if only Yi Chun's figure was left standing proudly in the air. No color in the world could cover that extremely resplendent saber gleam. In Yi Chun's body, a wisp of immortal light emerged. His entire body seemed to have transformed, wanting to slay everything in the world. Clang! Suddenly, the immortal slaying flying saber in his hand shone with immortal light. Auspicious lights shone brightly, and an unparalleled ferocious might enveloped the universe. This was one of the few grade 9 immortal weapons he had in the past. It was unknown how many ancient giants it had slaughtered. It was unknown how many immortals and demons it had killed. Even though it had been injured in that battle back then, its domineering charm could not be erased. Buzz! The immortal slaying flying saber seemed to have found the hot blood that had once followed Yi Chun through the myriad worlds. It trembled violently and flew out of his hand. It was like a primordial giant beast that had gone on a never-ending campaign. At that moment, the world lost its color, and the sun and moon shook. It was as if the entire sky was trembling. All living beings in the entire Een ruins were stunned by that peerless saber gleam. It was as if time had stopped. There was only a silver saber gleam that looked like the Milky Way. This scene changed extremely quickly. By the time everyone had recovered from their shock, Bai Ming Yuan quietly stood in the air, staring fixedly at Yi Chun. Her lips trembled violently, as if she was trying her best to say something. "You are, what a pity." She would never be able to tell this secret. Smack! In the next moment, her body suddenly split into pieces. Countless demonic energy surged out from her body. It was like a punctured balloon. You are. Yuan was still staring at Yi Chun and tried to speak. The wind howled and the demonic energy wailed. Streams of demonic energy that were like the roar of a demonic dragon poured out from her body. Kacha! Yo Huang's body quickly split apart. First, her skin and flesh split apart, then her bones, and then her demonic body. Then it was the demonic soul. Bang! Yo Huang's body exploded. Her soul was destroyed. A single slash killed a demon emperor comparable to a fusion stage. At that moment, the world shook. "It's too scary, my god." Countless people were incomparably shocked. Lei Yunzi and the others also widened their eyes in disbelief at what they were seeing. Huang Fuyu's eyes were dull. What a powerful Dharma treasure. Di Jiang took a good look at the immortal slaying flying saber that had returned to Yi Chun's hand. Deep shock filled his face. What kind of divine item is this saber exactly? Even the Xin Yuan sword is nothing in front of it, right? What did the Xin Yuan sword represent? He couldn't be any clearer. That was the divine item of great Emperor Xin Yuan. He had seen the power of the Xin Yuan sword. However, after witnessing the power of the immortal slaying flying knife, he felt that it was comparable to the Xin Yuan sword. As he thought of this, he couldn't help but raise his head and look at the Hell Emperor beside him. "Hell Emperor, do you still want to continue fighting?" The Hell Sovereign's pupils constricted violently, and his figure suddenly disappeared from this world. Even he would not be able to withstand that strike just now. That was an existence that did not belong to the mortal world. Boom! At that moment, Yi Chun took a step out and blocked his path. He said coldly, "Fellow, where are you going?" If one took a closer look, they would notice that his face was slightly pale. How many more times can you use that strike just now? The Yin sovereign stared fixedly at him and said coldly, "You're only at the early void refinement realm, but you managed to kill a devil sovereign who was 2 levels higher than you. Even if you did it with the help of a divine item, you must have paid a great price for it." At this point, his expression turned completely grim. "If you want to fight me to the death, I won't hesitate to fight you." In reality, his guess was right. The immortal slaying flying saber was only a weapon after all. Without the controller's power, it would be difficult for it to unleash terrifying power. Even though the immortal slaying flying saber was once an immortal weapon. However, in that battle, the gourd that nurtured it was shattered. Although the saber spirit survived safely, it eventually drifted to the lower realm. However, Yi Chen knew about the immortal slaying flying saber the moment he held it. Into this chapter. Chapter 16:57. Feng Wuxia turned to look at Yi Chen. "Brother Yi, what do you think?" Yi Chen nodded lightly. "Sure. I'll give you 3 days. I hope to see the results in 3 days." Emperor Hell glanced at Feng Wuxia coldly before leaving. Almost the moment he left, Yi Chen's legs went limp, and he fell quickly. Di Jiang reached out and helped him land on the ground. He asked with concern, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine. I've just exhausted myself." Yi Chen shook his head and looked around. "Where's Huang Fuyu?" Everyone only reacted after hearing his reminder. They then looked for Huang Fuyu everywhere. The Patriarch of Hell cursed. "That brat got away." Everyone's attention was on Yi Chen earlier, so they did not pay attention to Huang Fuyu. Did he run away? Yi Chen frowned when he heard that. He could not help but look at Di Jiang. Di Jiang shook his head slightly and said, "I can't sense his existence. I think he's protected by concealment aura, or he's been rescued." "Is this brat a rabbit?" Yang Tian cursed. "He escapes every time. This brat is blessed just like you." Di Jiang looked at Yi Chen and said in a deep voice, "His talent is no weaker than yours. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been valued by the Demon Lord and taken in as his godson. Judging from how he escaped from you so many times, he really has luck." Luck? Yi Chen's eyes flickered when he heard that. He had killed Su Qilin, and another Huang Fuyu had appeared. Su Qilin was Huang Fuyu's reincarnation. When he crushed Huang Fuyu had climbed up to the demons. There was no way to explain all of this if he did not have great luck. Huang Fuyu, Su Qilin. Yi Chen could not help but mutter as he thought to this point, "What exactly are you? Could you be a trap set up by some almighty in the demon world?" However, this brat can't threaten you for the time being. As if sensing his worry, Emperor Jiang said, "Our top priority is to suppress the remaining demons in this world and reseal the immortal soul and immortal body that were suppressed, especially that immortal body." His expression was extremely solemn. Back then, when the ancient immortal descended to Earth, even great Emperor Xuanyuan found it difficult to fight against him. If it wasn't for great Emperor Xuanyuan's meticulous planning and using the group of almighties who chased after us from the outer realm, as well as the demon race and several other forces to fight against the ancient immortal, perhaps this world has already been destroyed. Hearing that, Yi Chen vaguely understood the secret back then. It could also be considered as solving the confusion in his heart. Even though great Emperor Xuanyuan was the king of the human race, Earth was only a lesser chiliocosm after all. How could he have the ability to suppress an ancient immortal, even if this ancient immortal was injured? Now, it seemed like Qinxiu Wuhan, the Tao Lord of carnal desires, and the demon race had helped great Emperor Xuanyuan seal the ancient immortal. If that ancient immortal recovers, Emperor Jiang took a deep breath and said solemnly, "It will be the doomsday of this realm." After all, the present is different from the past. The great Emperor Xuanyuan has already entered the path of heaven. Yi Chen frowned and said, "How many of the 12 witches are left?" After recovering, Emperor Jiang's strength was around the fusion stage. In other words, the 12 witches back then were probably all at the fusion stage, and great Emperor Xuanyuan was either at the tribulation stage or the Mahayana stage. As soon as this thought appeared, he was shocked. Once upon a time, Earth had such a prosperous stage. 12 fusion stage and 1 Mahayana stage. Even in the spirit realm, such a lineup would be a peerless powerhouse that could suppress an area. It was no wonder that Earth could once be ranked in the top 10 of the All-Heaven Top 100. I'm not sure either. Emperor Jiang shook his head and said, "In that battle back then, we suffered heavy injuries. Gomang, Qiangyang, Rushu, Hutu, Gonggong, Zhurong, Tianwu, and Xuanzi also died in that battle. After that, I also fell into a coma." At this point, a trace of nostalgia appeared on his face. In other words, a total of 8 of the 12 witches have died. Yi Chen's expression turned grim. Apart from you, there are 3 others whose fate is unknown. 8 fusion stage cultivators had died. This showed how tragic the battle back then was. Apart from Emperor Jiang, among the 12 witches, there were also Shebi Shi, Xian Ming, and Candle Jiuyin. At this moment, Yang Tian asked in confusion, "Why did the demon tribe invade Earth?" "Of course it's for that ancient immortal." Emperor Jiang shook his head slightly and said, "Otherwise, they wouldn't be so reckless. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be." Yi Chen shook his head as his eyes flickered. "Since that ancient immortal could be suppressed, I think his immortal grade isn't high. A mere immortal shouldn't make the demon tribe make such a big fuss, right?" Ancient Immortal was the name given to immortals in the ancient immortal zone. From human immortals to immortal emperors, they could all be called ancient immortals. According to Yi Chen's speculation, this immortal was at most a golden immortal since he was ambushed and injured by Qinqiu Wuhin and the rest. It was illogical for a mere golden immortal to make the demon world attack. Emperor Zhang's lips moved slightly. This demon tribe is looking for something. As he spoke, a purple glow spread out from his body, enveloping everything. Then, he lowered his voice and said, "It said that this ancient immortal betrayed the immortal world and stole a treasure when he fled. I don't know exactly what it is, but I've heard Great Emperor Xianyuan mention that it seems to be an immortal weapon similar to a bottle," as soon as he finished speaking. However, Yi Chen's heart was in turmoil. Bottle. Almost at that moment, a thought flashed through his mind. Immortal Drift Bottle. Chapter 1658. The Immortal Drift Bottle. Its existence was almost Yi Chen's biggest secret. It was so big that only he knew about it. He did not even tell Su Yuhan or his parents. This item was too heaven-defying. As soon as it was exposed, it would definitely cause chaos in the 3 realms. However, Di Jiang mentioned the Immortal Drift Bottle now. Although he did not say the Immortal Drift Bottle's name, Yi Chen was sure that the item he was talking about must be the Immortal Drift Bottle. Yi Chen was shocked as he thought to this point. He still remembered that he obtained the Immortal Drift Bottle after Su Tao tied him up and sunk him into the river. It was also because of the Immortal Drift Bottle that he was brought to the cultivation world and grew to the peak of the immortal world. He had wondered more than once about why a divine item like the Immortal Drift Bottle would end up on Earth. One must know that Earth was just a small kiliocosm. What Di Jiang said answered many of his questions. The Immortal Drift Bottle might have been brought to this world by the ancient immortal who was suppressed. It must have been lost later on. Nobody discovered its existence, and it ended up in Yi Chen's hands after countless years. Ancient Immortal. Yi Chen's eyes flickered. The Ancient Immortal came from the Ancient Immortal realm of the previous dynasty. The Ancient Immortal realm was ended by Yi Chen, who had ascended from the lower realm and created the new heavenly court. Yi Chen knew very little about the Ancient Immortal realm, especially the former master of the Ancient Immortal realm, Immortal Emperor Daojin. He was not too sure about that person's origin. He was still suppressed in the immortal prison. It seems like the demon tribe knows some secrets about the Immortal Drift Bottle. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made such a big fuss, Yi Chen thought to himself. He looked at Di Jiang calmly and said, "So, has this bottle-like immortal weapon been found?" "No." Di Jiang shook his head lightly. In reality, even the great emperor didn't find this item back then, and that ancient immortal refused to admit it. Therefore, this secret has been sealed. Let's not talk about that. Di looked at Yi Chun immediately after saying that. You, on the other hand, are in danger now. Me? Yi Chun frowned. That's right. Di nodded slightly and said, if your wife really is the reincarnation of the Lord of the Underworld, she will only bring you harm. The great emperor once mentioned that the Lord of the Underworld was once a peerless existence that suppressed the heavens. Back then, it was she who led the netherworld to attack the spirit realm. She committed too many massacres, and many people died in that great battle. At this point, he added in a deep voice, on Earth, there are many almighty beings from the spiritual realm who chased after the ancient immortals. They more or less witnessed the scene when the netherworld attacked the spiritual realm back then. In other words, some of their masters, ancestors, fellow disciples, and even sects were destroyed in that great battle. Yang Tian's expression changed drastically when he heard this. Patriarch Yellow Spring didn't say anything, but he agreed with Dijiang's words. In fact, old ancestor Nether Spring was one of the witnesses of that battle all those years ago. However, he was accustomed to acting alone at that time, and coupled with the fact that he was rather scheming, he didn't perish in that battle. Instead, when the spiritual realm's vitality was greatly damaged and the various forces were reshuffled, the Patriarch stepped into the Tribulation Transcendent stage and became an existence that could suppress a region. Qinshou Wuhan, sect master of human desire. Yi Chun frowned slightly. He did not know if the two of them had a grudge against the Netherlord. If they did, it would be troublesome when they met in the future. However, he now had the immortal-slaying flying saber in his hand. He could even fight a body integration stage cultivator, so there was no need to worry too much. Forget it. In the end, Dijiang said, follow me to the demonic land. I wonder how the World Guardian and the rest are doing. The World Guardian is talented and has obtained the true inheritance of the great emperor. There shouldn't be too many accidents. That's good too, Yi Chun nodded. After the battle earlier, the demonic energy and demonic shadows that had enveloped this place had long since dispersed. Clearly, these people knew that the situation was hopeless when they saw Yo Huang's death, so they had no choice but to retreat. At this moment, Feng Wuxia, who was standing in the distance, took a step forward and said, Brother Yi, when are we going to the outside world? Meet your wife. We'll talk about it when I come back from the demonic land, Yi Chun said expressionlessly. Logically speaking, he did not want Su Yuhan to be the Netherlord, and he did not want to see her taken away by these so-called people from the Netherworld. At the same time, in the dark ruins demonic land, a glorious temple stood between heaven and earth. The divine radiance that the temple emitted actually suppressed the surrounding demonic energy to the point that it did not dare to advance at all. Inside the temple, there were two figures sitting on a high platform. One of them was a handsome young man in a golden feather robe. The young man was as handsome as a god, but his eyes were like the sea of stars, incomparably deep and experienced. Opposite the young man was a black-robed old man. The old man's face was aged, and his aura was somewhat evil. What was shocking was that even though he was just sitting there, he gave off the feeling that he was in the distant galaxy. At this moment, there was a chess game in front of the two of them. The chess game had long reached a stalemate. Bang! Suddenly, the chess piece in the black-clothed elder's hand exploded. Following that, all the black pieces on the chessboard exploded one after another. The old man in black paused, his expression extremely gloomy. End of this chapter. Chapter 1659. Devil Lord, you've lost. The young man in the golden feathered robe spoke slowly, his voice dignified and heroic. Even if you've calculated everything, you wouldn't have been able to predict this situation, right? World Guardian, do you think that Yuan Su will definitely win? The demon lord smiled coldly. This time, our demon clan's invasion of the Yinshu ruins has already caused many loopholes in the many methods that great Emperor Xin Yuan had set up back then. How long do you think the suppressed immortal soul and immortal body can stay dormant? You don't have to worry about that. The golden-feathered youth said expressionlessly, since the great emperor ordered me to guard this world all those years ago, he naturally had many preparations. It's not as simple as you think. You? The fiend lord was disdainful. You're just a crippled immortal figurine. Do you really think you're still a golden immortal figurine? If it weren't for the immortal jade on that ancient immortal, you would have long since exhausted your energy and turned into a dead object. As soon as he said that, the golden ape and the golden toad, standing behind the young man in golden feathered robes, were extremely shocked. Boss is an immortal figurine? The golden toad, in particular, was so shocked that its eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. They had accompanied the golden-robed young man for countless years, but they had never known what kind of existence their big brother was. In their eyes, their boss had remarkable abilities and could transform into any vicious beast. He could even transform into a human. However, it was a fairy figurine. Since it was a celestial figurine, it must be something from the celestial world. How did it come to this world? Furthermore, it had become Great Emperor Xuanyuan's grave-guarding beast. Then, the demon lord said again, "If I'm not wrong, the celestial jade that the ancient immortal brought down to the lower realm is almost gone. Without the celestial jade, will you have to fight me? Even without me, my Su and the earth will not perish." The golden-feathered youth smiled faintly, and his eyes burned with scorching flames. As long as the human race is immortal, our destiny will last for a long time. We've already produced a batch of juniors capable of shouldering heavy responsibilities. How can you demons succeed in your ambitions? A batch of juniors who can shoulder heavy responsibilities? The demon lord smiled disdainfully. You're talking about that human kid with the surname Yi, right? The golden-feathered youth smiled and said nothing. This demon master admits that he is indeed extraordinarily talented. The demon lord nodded in agreement, but his achievements are still limited. The foundation of the demon race is not something that a frog at the bottom of a well like you can imagine. How can a mere genius resist the army of the demon race? He chuckled and said in a mocking tone, "In fact, Yi Brat is not the only genius among your human race. There is another one whose talent and temperament are not any weaker than his." Are you referring to Huang Fuyu? The youth in the golden feathered robes' eyes darkened. Not bad. The demon lord smiled and said, "This child's temperament is more suited to my demon race's taste than that person surnamed Yi. This is also the reason why this demon lord took him as my godson and taught him the demon race's divine abilities." The giant golden ape could not help but sneer. How can a bastard who betrayed his race and ignored his ancestors' bloodline be compared to Yi Chun? Really? The demon lord's eyes flashed, and he said, "World Guardian, why don't we make another bet to see if your human clan's Yi Chun is stronger or my demon clan's Huang Fuyu is stronger? How do you want to bet? What's the bet?" The youth in the golden feathered robe asked. "Let's bet who can obtain the Xianyuan sword's recognition after the emperor's tomb opens." The demon lord said in an extremely abnormal manner, "If your human, Yi Chun, obtains the Xianyuan sword's recognition, then I, the demon lord, can swear in the name of the 5 great demon gods that I'll bring all the demons out of this world and never invade it again. If Huang Fuyu obtains the Xianyuan sword's recognition." At this point, he smiled slightly. "Then you have to tell me the location where the immortal soul is suppressed. You can't interfere." The youth in the golden feathered robe smiled without saying anything. "Are you that confident that Huang Fuyu can obtain the Xianyuan sword's recognition?" "Boss, don't agree to him." The golden toad suddenly said, "This old brat is very cunning. Things are definitely not that simple." "That's right, boss." The giant golden ape also said, "Negotiating with them is no different from asking a tiger for its skin. At most, we'll fight them to the death." However, the youth in the golden feathered robe fell silent for a moment before looking at the demon lord and saying, "All right, I'll accept this bet." "Very well, the emperor's tomb opens tomorrow. Let's settle this." The demon lord smiled faintly, and his figure began to blur and distort. Following that, he turned into a wisp of black smoke and dissipated between heaven and earth. As soon as he left, the giant golden toad could not help but say, "Boss, you clearly know that this old brat has ulterior motives. Why did you agree to him?" The youth in the golden feathered robe glanced at him, and his lips moved slightly as he said, "There aren't many immortal jades left behind by the great emperor. I don't have much time left. All these years, in order to preserve the immortal jades, he had rarely made a move. This was because every time he made a move, he would consume a certain amount of immortal jades, and the amount of immortal jades was limited. As soon as he finished speaking, the air instantly fell silent. The giant golden ape's eyes reddened as if he could not bear it. "Boss, where are the immortal jades? I'll go get them for you. I'll get them for you at all costs." End of this chapter. Chapter 1660. Idiot. The young man in the golden feathered robe laughed in surprise. How can anything with the word immortal in this world be obtained so easily? Immortal jades naturally exist in the immortal world. The giant golden ape was extremely depressed when he heard that. It could be said that the two of them were raised by the former. Their relationship was not that of biological brothers, but it was also like a master and disciple. So, Boss is worried that once we run out of immortal jades, we'll be in an even more difficult situation. So he simply agreed to the Demon Master's bet? The golden toad said, "That's right." The young man in the golden feathered robe nodded slightly. "Instead of waiting for death, it's better to take the initiative to attack." "That's right," the golden toad said worriedly. "But what I'm worried about is that even if Yi-Chen wins, what if the Demon Master goes back on his word? If that's the case." Hearing that, the flames in the young man's eyes were incomparably resplendent. "Then I'll exhaust all my immortal jades to fight him." After saying that, he seemed to have sensed something and chuckled. "They're here. Third brother, go and welcome them." In front of the temple, a group of people flew over and finally landed on the ground. It was Yi-Chun and the rest. Old ancestor Yellow Spring looked around and said with a frown, "There are no signs of fighting here. Looks like nothing happened to the Realm Guardian." Di Jiang heaved a sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. At that moment, a golden gleam rushed over from the temple and finally landed in front of everyone, revealing a golden toad. As soon as he saw it, Hell's face darkened. "Damn toad, it's you. You guy with sores on your butt, you're not dead yet." The golden toad rolled its eyes with a look of disdain. F*CK. The Patriarch of Hell was going to kill him. At that moment, a dignified voice came from the temple. Then, a giant golden ape walked out. "Third brother, don't be rude." "Greetings, holy ape." Di Jiang nodded slightly. "So it's Lord D." The giant golden ape nodded at Di Jiang respectfully. He then looked at everyone and finally fixed his gaze on Yi-Chun. "Fellow Yi, Boss has been waiting for you for a long time." "Realm Guardian?" Yi-Chun was surprised. Clearly, the Realm Guardian seemed to know that they were coming. "Not bad." The sacred ape nodded, turned around, and led everyone into the sacred hall. When everyone stepped into the temple, the first thing they saw was a figure with his back facing them. The figure wore a golden feather robe and looked like a god. "Immortal Chi, Master, I can feel the aura of immortal Chi." Almost at that moment, the Night Demon Armor's excited voice sounded in Yi-Chen's mind. Even the Emperor Brush agreed. It is indeed the aura of immortal Chi. It could be said that to them, celestial Chi was far too important. Not only could it allow them to recover to their peak, but it could also allow them to explode with even greater strength. This person has immortal Chi on him. Yi-Chen took a deep look at the figure whose back was facing him. The immortal slaying flying saber's voice immediately sounded in his mind. "Dizun, he is the Realm Guardian of In-Su. I once fought with him, but I couldn't break his defense." Yi-Chen was moved when he heard that. He knew the might of the immortal slaying flying saber. Even though he wasn't at his peak, he was still able to kill a body integration cultivator. However, he wasn't able to breach the other party's defenses. Two balls of golden flames bloomed in Yi-Chen's eyes as he thought to this point. It was the golden pupil flame. With the help of the golden pupil's flame, he once again sized up the silhouette that had its back facing him. What came into view was a godlike Dharma form. This Dharma idol was incomparably resplendent, and it had a supreme majesty to it. Just when Yi-Chan wanted to see it clearly, the figure with his back facing him suddenly turned around. A pair of eyes that seemed to be able to see through everything met his gaze. Boom! Although the two of them did not fight, the moment their gazes met, an extremely terrifying wave erupted in the temple. Tap, tap, tap. At that moment, Yi Chun took a few steps back. Meanwhile, the young man in the golden feather robe did not move. He was still standing with his hands behind his back. This sudden scene caused everyone to instantly turn pale with fright. He looked at the young man in the golden feather robe with killing intent. He thought that the young man had attacked Yi Chun. Don't be rash. Di Jiang stopped him immediately. With his ability, how could he not tell that Yi Chun had cast an ocular technique on the World Guardian? He tried to spy on the World Guardian, but the World Guardian had broken the technique. Old Yang, don't do anything rash. Yi Chun stopped Yang Tian after stabilizing himself. He then looked at the young man in the golden feather robe again and smiled apologetically. I was too rash. Please forgive me, World Guardian. It's fine. The young man in the golden feather robe spoke slowly. He looked at Yi Chun carefully and a smile appeared on his face. I have to say, your appearance has exceeded my expectations. Everyone was confused by his words. Once upon a time, I thought that after me, the hope of this world would be second brother, Di Jiang, and the rest. The young man in the golden feather robe spoke frankly. However, after you entered my sight one after another, I decided that you're the only one who can save this person. End of this chapter. Chapter 1661. Yi Chun frowned. The Realm Guardian has been paying attention to me since a long time ago. And not just a long time ago. The giant golden ape said calmly. From the first time you stepped into Insu, you've entered our sights. Otherwise, why do you think Boss is called the Realm Guardian? He was extremely proud. It could be said that in the entire Insu, there's nothing that can hide from Boss. What's there to be proud of? Yang Tian muttered to himself, feeling a little annoyed. Old Yi, don't be rude to the Realm Guardian. Yi Chun scolded Yang Tian and said, if not for the Realm Guardian guarding Insu for countless years, how could the outside world be peaceful until now? Yang Tian's expression changed slightly. It's fine. The young man in the golden feathered robe chuckled and looked at Yi Chun again. That divine item has already recognized you as its master, right? The divine item he was referring to was naturally the immortal slaying flying saber. That's right. Yi Chun nodded lightly, but he was unwilling to mention it. This divine item is extraordinary. I've fought it before, but it seems to have been damaged, causing its strength to plummet. The young man in the golden feathered robe could only smile when he saw that Yi Chun was unwilling to mention it. At this moment, Di Jiang said, Realm Guardian, my guardian spirit tribe is being besieged. Why didn't you do anything? The moment these words were spoken, the atmosphere suddenly fell silent. The giant golden ape's lips moved slightly and was about to speak. The young man in the golden feathered robe raised his hand to stop him and said, it's not that I'm unwilling to do anything, but this is a game between me and the Demon Master. Neither of us can make a move. So, what the Realm Guardian means is that even if countless people die tragically, you'll still be indifferent? Di Jiang chuckled. The demons besieged the Guardian Spirit tribe, and he was at a critical moment of recovery. If Yi Chun had not arrived in time, the barrier he had set up would not have been able to stop them at all. Once the barrier was broken, Lei Yunzi and the rest would definitely die, and he would be implicated. The giant golden ape finally could not help but say, if the boss makes a move, the Demon Master will also make a move. At that time, the situation will be even more complicated than before, and the consequences will be unpredictable. Demon Master? Yi Chun's eyes flashed. The Demon Master is here? An existence like the Demon Master was equivalent to the tribulation stage. If he really attacked, no one in the entire Inshu could stop him. Even Yi Chun was no exception. The only one who could fight against it was probably the World Guardian in front of him. But for some unknown reason, he was actually unable to see through the World Protector's cultivation. It was as if the latter didn't have any cultivation at all. Yes, the young man nodded in response. You've won the bet between him and me, so I've made a new bet with him. As he spoke to this point, he could not help but look at Yi Chun with a burning gaze. The bet is that when the Emperor's tomb opens tomorrow, between you and Huang Fuyu, who will obtain the Xianyuan sword's recognition. Just this bet? Di Jiang frowned slightly. Logically speaking, Yi Chen has a higher chance of obtaining the Xianyuan sword. There's no way the Demon Lord doesn't know this. Why'd he make this bet with you? Yi Chen nodded too. Although he had never seen the Xianyuan sword, he knew that since the Xianyuan sword was the weapon of great Emperor Xianyuan, it naturally carried the hopes of the human clan. Why would it choose Huang Fuyu, who had surrendered to the Devil clan? Naturally, it's for the sealed ancient immortal. The young man shook his head slightly and said, I've already agreed to this bet. This means that the game between me and him has officially begun. He looked at Yi Chen steadily. Therefore, after the Emperor's tomb opens tomorrow, I hope you can do your best to obtain the Xianyuan sword's recognition for the survival of the billions of living beings in this world. Of course, I'll do my best to help you. Yi Chen nodded without saying anything. At that moment, Di Jiang suddenly said, World Protector, there's something I don't know if I should ask. You want to ask about Xian Ming and the Candle Dragon, right? The young man in the golden feathered robe seemed to have known that he would ask this. He said, the three of them are still in this world, but I can't sense their exact location. Even so, Di Jiang was still overjoyed. With the addition of Xian Ming and the other two, even if the Devil clan fell out with them, they still had the strength to fight. Next, it would depend on tomorrow's battle for the Emperor's tomb. At the same time, somewhere in Yin Su that was shrouded in demonic energy, Huang Fuyu, who was dressed in black, knelt on one knee in front of the Demon Lord. Greetings, Godfather. Get up, there's no need to be so polite. The Demon Lord waved his sleeve and helped him up. Godfather called you here today because he wants you to participate in the battle for the Emperor's tomb tomorrow. He then told him about the bet between him and the World Protector. After hearing that, Huang Fuyu immediately said without hesitation, Godfather has ordered, I will naturally do my best. After saying that, he hesitated, but the Xianyuan sword, you're worried that the Xianyuan sword won't choose you, right? As if seeing his doubts, the Demon Lord smiled meaningfully. Don't worry, since Godfather wants you to fight for it, there must be a way. Of course, I believe in Godfather. Huang Fuyu lowered his head and said respectfully, It's just that Yi Chen has an extremely powerful divine artifact. Lady Yuang died under his blade. It's just a broken immortal artifact. The Demon Lord smiled disdainfully. Godfather will teach you the supreme cultivation technique of the 5 Emperor Great Demon Gods, the heaven-shrouding demonic technique, and the supreme demonic treasure, the Demon Blade Firmament. It's enough to kill this person. P.S. Chapter 4, updated today. Sorry for the long wait. Chapter 1662. In the following period of time, the atmosphere in the entire Yin Su suddenly became extremely strange. Whether it was the local living beings of Yin Su, the human cultivators, or the demon race, they were all in a relatively peaceful situation. This was because everyone knew that after tomorrow, the Emperor's tomb would open, and it would completely determine the survival of Yin Su. The human race was not the only one who was determined to obtain the Emperor's tomb. It was the same for the demon race. Therefore, everyone knew that a temporary battle was just a small fight, and it could not completely control everything tomorrow. In the depths of Yin Su, in the temple, Yi Chen stood on the tall building with his hands behind his back and looked at the entire demonic land. It was as if the agreement between the World Guardian and the Demon Master had been reached. The demonic energy that had originally enveloped the temple had long since dispersed, as if it had completely disappeared into this world. He released his divine consciousness and could sense countless auras growing stronger at a terrifying speed. It was clearly the Patriarch of Hell, Yang Tian, Yi Wushuang, and the rest. Yi Chen's arrival made the World Guardian take the initiative to open a secret zone left behind by the great Emperor Xianyuan back then. There were many spirit stones and resources inside. Everyone cultivated with all their might. All of them wanted to obtain more survival ability in the upcoming chaos in Yin Su. At the same time, they could share Yi Chen's burden. At the same time, a young man in golden feathered clothes appeared behind him out of nowhere. He also looked into the distance without saying a word. The two of them maintained this delicate situation. After an unknown period of time, Yi Chun turned around and looked at him. The World Guardian once followed the great Emperor Xian Yuan. That's right. The former nodded slightly, and his eyes flickered. Back then, I was just a dead thing. The great Emperor gave me a new life. Do you have a name? Yi Chun said. Name? The young man in golden feather clothes looked confused as if this word was extremely distant to him. After a while, he said, You can call me Zero. Zero? Yi Chun was a little stunned. Clearly, he did not expect someone as powerful as him to be. However, his name was so simple. Isn't it strange? Zero smiled. I'm not a living being. I'm just an immortal figurine that entered this world by mistake. Back then, the great Emperor Xian Yuan found a mortal jade and revived me. He also changed my program. That's why I followed him until now. You're an immortal figurine? Yi Chen's expression changed. The so-called immortal figurines could be understood as puppets. Whenever someone died in the celestial world, they would place an immortal figurine beside their grave to protect it. The immortal figurine required a large amount of immortal jades to provide energy. The most powerful immortal figurine that Yi Chun had ever seen could unleash the strength of a great overarching golden immortal. If there were no more immortal jades, or if the immortal jades were exhausted, the immortal figurine would naturally lose its energy and become a dead object. No wonder the immortal slaying flying knife couldn't break through his defense. Yi Chun came to a sudden realization. The materials used to refine the celestial figurines were extremely precious. If the immortal slaying flying saber was at its peak, it would definitely be able to break it. However, after that battle, the immortal slaying flying saber was damaged. All these years, I've fallen into a deep sleep several times. Zero murmured. Usually, I leave the big and small matters to second brother and third brother to deal with. If second brother and third brother can't handle it, I will step in. Every time I make a move, I pursue a one-hit kill. Therefore, the entire Een ruins fear me like a tiger. Because you don't have much immortal jade left? Yi Chun looked enlightened and said, Attacking frequently will only increase the consumption of immortal jade. Therefore, every time you attack, it's a one-hit kill to greatly intimidate others. He finally understood why he could not see through Zero's cultivation base. To be precise, he had no cultivation base at all. His strength depended on the number of immortal jade. The more immortal jade he had, the stronger he would be. The less immortal jade he had, the weaker he would naturally be. The Emperor's tomb will open tomorrow. Zero looked at him and suddenly said, Even though I have a lot of confidence in you, the demon clan is still not to be underestimated. If necessary, I will unleash my strongest strength. If I leave, I'll leave this world to you. He looked a little lost, and the great Emperor's task has fallen on you. Yi Chun looked at the death in his eyes and said in a deep voice, Is the situation worse than I thought? Very bad. Zero nodded slightly and said, Let's not talk about the demon clan. Even the ancient immortals that the great Emperor suppressed back then are stirring more and more frequently. If they're allowed to appear, even I won't be able to suppress them. I understand. Yi Chun's heart sank slightly. I'll do my best. Of course I believe you. Zero looked at him seriously. However, your current cultivation base is still at beginner stage void refinement. It's not enough, far from enough. Even if you have the help of that divine item, you can only use it once at most. Come with me. He took a step forward after saying that. A ripple surged under his feet and disappeared on the spot with Yi Chun. In the endless chaotic spatial storm, there seemed to be a flat continent. However, it was incomparably dark. Pitch black, demonic energy that was like ink had infected and seeped into everything. If one took a closer look, they would discover that there were 3 huge bodies floating quietly in the air in the thick, ink-like fog. There were many seals flickering on their bodies. Yi Chun and Zero's figures appeared immediately. What's this? Yi Chun's gaze was immediately attracted by the 3 huge bodies. His eyes could not help but flicker when he saw them clearly. Demon corpses? That's right. Zero nodded slightly. These 3 are all Demon Master level existences. Back then, They led the demon clan to fight against the ancient immortal, and both sides suffered. At that time, the great emperor took action and killed the three of them. Then, he sealed their bodies here. He could not help but glance at Yi Chun as he spoke to this point. If I'm not wrong, you obtained a builderwood fragment in the desolate god's tomb and nurtured it into a seedling, right? Yi Chun nodded. Furthermore, you absorbed a demon body with the help of the builderwood's seedling and produced a half-formed builderwood fruit. Zero continued. And you used that half-formed builderwood fruit to step into beginner stage void refinement from great perfection god transformation stage. Yi Chun could not help but take a good look at him. He thought to himself that he had done all of this in great secrecy. He did not expect Zero to still notice it. Don't doubt me, and don't be wary of me. As if sensing what he was thinking, Zero smiled and said, all the defense systems in the entire Inshu are centered around me. It can be said that there are very few things in the Inshu that can hide from me. The demon body you absorbed only had the cultivation base of a demon emperor. After saying that, he could not help but look at the three demon bodies in front of him, and these three are the bodies of demon masters. Take out your builderwood seedling. I believe that after absorbing them, you should be able to step into the soul-splitting stage. This is the greatest help I can provide you. He sighed softly. Soul-splitting stage. Even though Yi Chun was calm, he felt a little excited. End of this chapter. Chapter 1663. After saying that, Zero left quietly. He was just an immortal figurine. He did not have human emotions and desires. No treasure in this world was attractive to him at all. This time, he did not monitor where Yi Chun was. After he left, Yi Chun took out over 10 formation flags and sealed the space. He then took out the builder tree sapling. Buzz! The air trembled violently. A golden tree that was about 1.5 meters tall appeared before him. As soon as it appeared, its branches and leaves began to tremble. It seemed to have sensed the demonic energy here and was absorbing it crazily. Go! Yi Chun's eyes flashed. He controlled the builder tree sapling to land on a demonic body without hesitation. Zap, 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 zap. As soon as the builder tree sapling landed on the demonic body, countless wriggling roots appeared. The roots were like the sharpest weapon in the world. They ignored the demonic body's toughness and pierced into it with ease. After all the roots pierced into the demonic body, Yi Chun watched as the gigantic demonic body shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. It even shrank rapidly. In the end, only the clothes and remains of the huge demonic body were left. The rest of the flesh and blood were completely absorbed. On the other hand, the builder tree sapling shone brightly like an immortal seed that had fallen into the human world. Soon after, the builder tree sapling trembled violently. Then, a golden fruit slowly grew on its branches and leaves. Although it was called a fruit, it looked like a golden ball at first glance. There seemed to be an ancient god shadow within the fruit that looked down on everything. Builder tree fruit. Yi Chun could not be more familiar with this scene. After all, he had experienced it once in the wilderness god's tomb. After the golden fruit ripened, Yi Chun waved his sleeve and carefully plucked it. Then, he placed the builder tree sapling on the second demonic body. Soon, the second builder tree fruit ripened. When the last demonic body was absorbed by the builder tree sapling and produced the third builder tree fruit, the true origin energy in Yi Chun's body seemed to be infected. He could not help but cheer. Without hesitation, he sat down cross-legged and swallowed the first builder tree fruit. At the same time, he closed his eyes and quickly refined the energy within. At the same time, Insu was shrouded by devil chi. This was the most evil abyss in the world. At this moment, there was a figure sitting cross-legged within, and there was an evil and terrifying aura rapidly growing on him. After an unknown period of time, the figure slowly opened his eyes, and an extremely fierce light flashed in the depths of his pupils. Haha, Yi Chun, Huang Fuyu smiled eerily. Thanks to you, Godfather taught me the heaven-shrouding demonic art. I have to say, this heaven-shrouding demonic art is the most powerful demonic art I've ever seen. In just a few hours, I stepped into the divine severing stage in one fell swoop. At this point, he grinned, and the coldness froze everything. I'm very curious. What kind of expression will you have when you see the changes in me tomorrow? He clenched his fist tightly. Whoosh! In the abyss, a dark light suddenly attacked him. As soon as the dark light appeared, Huang Fuyu's hair stood on end, as if he was being watched by some terrifying monster. Seeing the dark light coming at him, Huang Fuyu, who had yet to enjoy the joy of breaking through, could not help but close his eyes in despair. My life is over. Just as the ghostly light was less than an inch away from the top of his head, it suddenly stopped and turned into a blood-red, demonic blade that was as thin as a cicada's wings. The blade was in the shape of a strange, two-headed demonic beast, and the blade was covered in patterns. There was a ferocious face on the demonic blade. Sometimes it grinned hideously, and sometimes it was resentful. It gave off an extremely evil feeling. This, Huang Fuyu looked at the demonic blade in front of him and felt as if the blood in his body was about to erupt. Is this the demonic blade, blood firmament, that Godfather mentioned? At the same time, the demon lord's voice sounded in his mind. This is the demonic weapon of the 5 great demon gods back then, blood firmament. Once the demonic blade is unleashed, it will rain blood in the sky. If you want to have it, you need to subdue it. This blade is extremely vicious. Together with the heaven-shrouding demonic technique, it can cause chaos in the 3 realms. However, it is also unruly and difficult to tame. If you are swallowed by it, Godfather will not save you. Godfather, I understand. Huang Fuyu nodded solemnly, then looked at the demonic blade, blood firmament, and murmured, Submit to me. I will not let you down. Time passed slowly. From time to time, powerful auras whizzed out of the entire Een ruins and broke through the sky. Ha! The Patriarch has reached the great perfection of the void refinement realm. A black-robed young man stepped out of the air, and his aura shook the sky. He said disdainfully, Ladies from the spiritual realm, wait for the Patriarch. He will be back soon to pamper you. As soon as he finished speaking, another earth-shattering sword was surged out, and it seemed as if it was going to completely annihilate this world. Then a white-robed young man with a sword on his back came out, and his sword intent rolled up the galaxy. Following that, many more auras appeared one after another. Due to Zero's help this time, everyone's strength had a qualitative leap. Among them, the Patriarch of Hell, Yang Tian, and Yi Wushuang had undergone the greatest transformation. Zero and the Holy Ape, who were standing in the distance, nodded to themselves. After exhausting the foundation that great Emperor Xinyuan had left behind, everyone's breakthroughs had not let them down. Zero's eyes flickered, and he could not help but look deep underground. He knew that regardless of whether it was the Patriarch of Hell, Yang Tian, or the rest, although they were powerful, they could not control the overall situation. The person who could truly control the overall situation was the person below. I wonder how much fellow ye gained from your closed-door cultivation this time. The Patriarch of Hell muttered to himself. Everyone was looking forward to it. The next day, when the first ray of sunlight shone on the ground, an extremely dazzling golden pillar of light suddenly shot out from the ground. Then, it forcefully pierced through the void and shot into the clouds. The earth-shattering commotion shocked everyone. Before they could react, they saw a pressure that was as vast as the sea enveloping this world. Under that pressure, everyone could not help but want to kneel on the ground. Even Di Jiang could not help but reveal a solemn expression under this pressure. He felt his heart palpitate slightly. This pressure, the Patriarch of Hell sensed the change with extreme surprise. Then, he seemed to have thought of something and sucked in a breath of cold air. This is the pressure that only a spirit-severing Almighty has. Fellow, ye have stepped into the early stage, spirit-severing stage. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. A smile finally appeared on Zero's face. End of this chapter. Chapter 1664. After an unknown period of time, the terrifying pressure that enveloped the world gradually dissipated. Yichin broke out of the ground and stood quietly in the air. He felt the vast and almost endless true origin energy in his body. He could not help but reveal a smile at the corner of his lips. Early stage spirit splitting. With the help of the Samadhi Jinmu fruit that the three demonic bodies had produced after being absorbed by the Jinmu sapling, he had finally recovered to early stage spirit splitting, void refinement, spirit splitting, and fusion. He was known as Master Rank 3. Now he had resolutely stepped into Master Rank 2. In time, he would definitely be able to step into the tribulation stage, successfully overcome the 9-9 heavenly tribulation, advance to the Mahayana stage, and return to the immortal world. Congratulations on recovering to the spirit-splitting master. Congratulations, your majesty. Congratulations, venerable emperor. In an instant, the excited voices of the knight demon armor, emperor brush, and immortal slaying flying saber rang in his mind at the same time. The stronger Yi Chun was, the stronger the power they could unleash would be. They would be of great help to Yi Chun. That's strange. The Patriarch of Hell felt that something was amiss as he looked at Yi Chun, who was in the air. He mumbled to himself, logically speaking, fellow Ye's breakthrough should be accompanied by heavenly tribulation. He did not mean it, but he stopped on purpose. In the distance, Zero's eyes could not help but flicker a few times. Congratulations, old Yi. Yang Tian ran over and said excitedly, I thought I was powerful enough to step into the mastery stage void refinement. I didn't expect you to be even more powerful than me. With Zero's help this time, he had advanced from beginner stage void refinement to mastery stage void refinement. However, he had suffered a huge blow in front of Yichun. You've improved quite quickly. Yichun glanced at him in surprise. After Yang Tian, Di Jiang, Lei Yunzi, and the rest walked up to congratulate Yi Chun with cupped fists. Di Jiang even said, You've completely advanced to the peak of this world now. Ever since great Emperor Xinyuan stepped onto the path of heaven, the 12 witches had either died or fallen into a deep sleep. Yin ruins had been closed, and the human world had entered the Age of Doom. On the other hand, Yi Chun had risen from the Age of Doom to the spirit-splitting stage. How could they not respect him? At that moment, Zero walked over and looked at him with satisfaction. Very good. He was only a fairy figurine and did not possess human emotions. Moreover, he was not good with words, so all he said was very good. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly looked up into the sky, and his eyes suddenly erupted with brilliant divine light. They're here. As his voice fell, boom, the originally clear sky was suddenly accompanied by a muffled sound. Then, a huge hole seemed to be torn open in the azure sky. The hole was like the bloody mouth of a ferocious beast, and at this moment, an overwhelming amount of devil chi was gushing out from it. The world gradually darkened and was replaced by an incomparably evil aura that filled the world. They're finally here. Yi Chen's expression gradually turned grim. He clenched his fists subconsciously as he stared at the unbridled, demonic energy in the sky. The living beings of this world are simply too weak. Hee, I can already taste the delicious flesh and blood. Extremely evil and untamed voices rang out from the thick demonic energy, causing the expressions of many people to change. This is the temple. How dare you act so presumptuously in front of me? Zero's voice shook the sky as he suddenly attacked. He did not make any unnecessary movements. Instead, he slowly raised his hand and gently pressed it against the huge mass of demonic energy that was wreaking havoc in the air. In an instant, the huge ball of demonic aura exploded, and endless screams and cries of resentment could be faintly heard. Rule power, Yi Chen understood. Zero was using rule power at that moment. The so-called rule power was another understanding of the power of heaven and earth. To reach this level, one had to be an immortal. However, when he thought about how Zero was an immortal figurine, he felt relieved. World Guardian, why do you have to make such a big fuss? A faint voice came from the huge hole in the sky. Boom! As the voice fell, the demonic energy in the huge hole became denser. The demonic aura in the huge hole grew denser. From afar, It looked like a black, viscous liquid was pouring down from the sky. At the next moment, an incomparably majestic and terrifying pressure surged out from the huge hole. Under such pressure, the expressions of Lei Yunzi and the others changed drastically. They felt like they could not control their bodies, as if they wanted to kneel on the ground. Oomph! Zero snorted coldly and waved his hand. A strange power entered everyone's bodies, and then everyone felt that the pressure no longer existed. Gulilu, the black demonic energy in the huge hole began to squirm rapidly. The demonic energy condensed into a huge black throne at a speed visible to the naked eye. On the throne, two figures stood proudly. Their demonic might was monstrous, as if they were ancient demon ancestors descending to the mortal world. The young man in the lead was dressed in black, and his face was as handsome as a demon. The vertical eye between his brows gave off an extremely evil feeling, and there was a pair of huge purple-gold demonic wings on his back. Huang Fuyu, when they saw the person's face clearly. The Patriarch of Hell and the others were shocked. Huang Fuyu's transformation was just too great. If he looked like a human before, he was now a complete demon. He did not hide the monstrous demonic might on his body at all. He's become stronger again. Di Zhang frowned slightly and said to Yi Chun, "Looks like the demon master must have forcefully increased his cultivation base. You have to be careful. Even I can't see through the current Huang Fuyu." Yi Chun's eyes flickered slightly when he heard that. He had to admit that Huang Fuyu gave him some pressure at that moment. Even though he did not know what the former had experienced, he had undoubtedly become stronger. Ha! Under everyone's gazes, Huang Fuyu, who was sitting on the throne, smiled slightly. Then he retracted his huge demonic wings as if he had become a normal person. He took a step forward and landed less than 300 meters away from Yi Chun. There were countless demonic shadows crawling around him, and there was no lack of demon emperors among them. "Brother Yi, I'm here again." Huang Fuyu looked at Yi Chun quietly, as if Yi Chun was the only one left in the world. "This time, there will be an extremely fair battle between you and me. I hope you won't disappoint me too much." "Tui." Yang Tian could not help but spit. "Which dog is barking?" "F***CK. It's really smelly. Moreover, it's a stray dog that has been beaten to death several times." Huang Fuyu was not angry. He merely glanced at him. At that moment, a dark light flashed across his pitch-black eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 1665. Just one look. Yang Tian's body froze as if he had lost his soul. True evil fiend eye? Yi Chen's eyes flickered. Then he extended his hand and pointed between Yang Tian's brows, forcefully awakening his divine consciousness. "Don't look at his eyes." Yang Tian shuddered and broke out in cold sweat. Fear flashed across his face, but he no longer dared to look at Huang Fuyu. Earlier, he felt like his soul was about to disperse. The others were shocked as well. One had to know that Yang Tian was still at the late-stage void refinement stage, but he still fell for Huang Fuyu's trick. How could anyone else endure it? "I didn't expect you to have cultivated the true evil fiend eye." There was a hint of surprise in Yi Chen's eyes when he looked at Huang Fuyu again. The so-called true evil fiend eye was an ocular technique of the Devil Clan. This ocular technique was extremely strange and evil. Just a glance could take away a person's soul. Aha! Huang Fuyu was not surprised at all. He looked at Yi Chun with a smile and said, "Brother Yi, believe me, you're qualified to experience my true evil fiend eye." World Guardian. Suddenly, an indifferent voice rang out from the huge throne hovering in the sky. "Look at your camp. Experts are as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. Tell me, if I give the order right now, will you be able to stop me?" Everyone's expressions changed when they heard that, as if they were facing a great enemy. From the moment Huang Fuyu came out, they had already sensed that the number of powerhouses in the Devil Clan's camp seemed to surpass them. 6 demon emperors comparable to soul-splitting stage. The Patriarch of Hell said with a solemn expression, 14 demon kings comparable to perfected void refinement stage. This lineup is almost twice as many as ours. On their side, excluding the World Guardian, Only Yi Chun, Di Jiang, and the holy ape were above the soul-splitting stage. Is that so? Right at this moment, a cold voice suddenly exploded in the world. Demon Master, aren't you overestimating the Devil Clan? The voice was extremely familiar. Yi Chen's body shook. Then, he suddenly lifted his eyes and looked up. He saw a black umbrella flying towards him from the horizon. Under the black umbrella, a black-robed woman stepped through the void. Her long sleeves fluttered in the wind, and she looked peerless. Yuhan. Yi Chen was stunned. The lady was Su Yuhan. What he did not expect was that Su Yuhan actually came to such a dangerous situation. Moreover, she was alone. He could not help but ask, Yuhan, why are you here? Someone's bullying my husband. As his wife, I can't just stand by and watch. Su Yuhan landed next to him and smiled faintly. Almost everyone fell head over heels for her. She looked at Huang Fuyu coldly and said, I didn't expect you to have fallen so far. Oh, it's Sister Yuhan. Huang Fuyu's pupils shrunk slightly. He then smiled and said, It's been a long time. I didn't expect Sister Yuhan to have changed so much. I'm so happy. Sister, Su Yuhan chuckled softly. I actually feel disgusted when you say that word. After saying that, she raised her eyes slightly and looked at the Demon Master on the throne. Demon Master, you're the lackey of the 5 great demon gods. How dare you descend to the lower realm without guarding him? Aren't you afraid of being killed? The demon lord's expressionless face finally had a slight change. He glared at Su Yuhan and said, So, it's the Underworld Lord. No, you're just the Underworld Lord's reincarnation. No wonder you can tell my identity right away. Nether Lord. At this point, he seemed to have thought of something and sneered. Nether Lord, you haven't completely awakened your previous life, yet you dare to appear before me. Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to return? Would you dare, even if I gave you 10 guts? Suddenly, a cold voice was heard. Everyone looked over and saw a young man in black walking over. His expression was cold, but his eyes were filled with excitement when he looked at Su Yuhan. It was Feng Wuxie. Under everyone's gaze, Feng Wuxie sprinted towards Su Yuhan and prostrated on the ground. He said respectfully, The descendant of the Nether River clan, Feng Wuxie, greets the Lord. Confusion flashed through Su Yuhan's eyes. It seemed like she had not completely recovered her memory. Seeing her reaction, Feng Wuxie sighed softly. He then stood up and looked at the Nether Lord coldly. Nether Lord, let me ask you this. Would you dare to touch my master even if I gave you 10 guts? Although the Nether clan is useless, it's not completely extinct. I'm afraid it's effortless to kill a mere demon master like you. His gaze was extremely cold. Before this, he did not believe that the reincarnation of the Nether Lord was Yi Chen's woman. However, the moment he saw Su Yuhan, he completely believed what Yi Chen said. The Nether Lord smiled coldly. Junior from a Nether clan, you can summon me. Let's see if the Nether clan's Almighty can sense it. Feng Wuxie's expression changed slightly. He then slowly raised his right palm. His palm suddenly became hot, and the word Nether appeared faintly. However, to his disappointment, the word Nether only flickered a few times before dimming again. Feng Wuxie's body trembled violently. Did you do something? Ha! Huang Fuyu could not help but laugh. Feng Wuxie, you're too stupid. Do you really think the Nether clan will sit back and watch you verify the Nether Lord's reincarnation? When the Emperor of the Underworld left, Godfather destroyed the spatial node. Without 3 to 5 years, how can it be easy for the Nether clan to find the spatial node that leads to this world again? The Nether clan is indeed cunning and shameless. Feng Wuxie's face was livid. It could be said that his greatest reliance was the Emperor of the Underworld. However, now that the spatial node was destroyed, it was equivalent to cutting off his only hope. Netherlord, the Demon Master seemed to be mocking. If you were at your peak, I would definitely turn around and run when I see you. Unfortunately, even with the current you, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for you to control the situation this time. Is that so? Su Yuhan smiled sweetly. This time, I brought a person for you. No, a dragon. Just as she finished speaking, suddenly an extremely evil voice rang out. "What if I'm included?" Roar. As this voice fell, a series of dragon roars reverberated in the void. The dragon roars shook the hearts of everyone present. In front of everyone's eyes, a gigantic crimson dragon that blotted out the sun tore through the sky. The dragon's entire body was crimson, and as soon as it appeared, it emitted a terrifying draconic might that suppressed everything. This guy has finally shown himself. The moment he saw the crimson dragon, a smile finally appeared on Di Jiang's rigid face. He seemed to be excited and reminiscing. "Candle dragon," Yi Chun mumbled, "the candle dragon of the 12 witches." End of this chapter. Chapter 1666. Looking at the dragon shadow that covered the sky, Yi Zichun's eyes widened. At that moment, everyone felt a trace of extreme pressure. Even Huang Fuyu, who had undergone a great transformation, was no exception. As the red light spread out, the crimson dragon turned into a red-haired young man. The young man was quite handsome, and his red hair swayed in the air, making him look extremely elegant. With the appearance of a young man, the demon lord on the throne had a slightly gloomy look in his eyes. "So it's a little smelly bug from back then. I have to say, you're really lucky. It doesn't matter if they are bed bugs or fragrant bugs." The red-haired youth smiled faintly. "The meaning of my existence is to disgust you existences who attempt to destroy this world." Di Jiang couldn't help but look at him. "Zhulong, have you recovered?" As his voice fell, everyone, including Lei Yunzi, was extremely astonished to hear this. Torch Dragon. The red-haired young man in front of them was the Torch Dragon of the 12 witches. Of course, meeting Di Jiang's gaze, the Torch Dragon chuckled. "In fact, I recovered earlier than all of you. It's just that I've been playing around in the mortal world. Playing games?" Di Jiang was slightly taken aback, and then his face twitched as if he'd recalled something. As the saying goes, dragons are lustful by nature. The game in the human world that he mentioned was probably not that simple. "Are you Yi Chun?" On the other hand, Zhulong suddenly looked at Yi Chun. After taking a good look at him, he praised, "You look talented. I've heard a lot about you in the secular world recently." No wonder the Netherlord took a liking to him. He grinned and winked at Yi Chun. Chun Zhao was dumbfounded. Patriarch Yellow Spring and Yang Tian exchanged glances. They felt that the legendary Torch Dragon was a chatterbox and a joker. He did not fit their expectations at all. "Shut up." Su Yuhan rolled her eyes at him. The latter obediently shut his mouth. Su Yuhan then looked at Yi Chun and said, "This guy has been sneaking around outside our house. He even fought with Taoist priest Tatian. I only found out that he's Zhulong after I found out." "Sneaky?" Zhulong was a little speechless. "I was doing it openly, okay?" She could not be bothered with him and proceeded to speak. "This guy said that you'd be in danger, so I got him to bring me to you." Yi Chun nodded lightly as he came to a realization. Zhulong was one of the 12 ancestors of sorcery, so it was easy for him to enter the Yin ruins. Huang Fuyu couldn't help but sneer when he saw them reminiscing as if nothing had happened. "You're about to die, yet you're still in the mood to reminisce? Do you think one more person is enough to change the situation?" Towards the end, he seemed to be mocking. Don't rush. We have plenty of time to fight." Zhulong waved his hand and shouted into the void. "I say, Xianming, how long are you two going to hide? Come out quickly. Only the two of you are left." His voice fell. Everyone was shocked. "There's someone else?" Sure enough, a helpless voice resounded in the silent space. "Zhulong, you're still the same after so many years." Boom! Under everyone's gaze, a tall figure walked over. The figure was about 30 meters tall. It had a human face and a bird's body. There was a green snake on each of its ears and a green snake under its feet. Xianming, Di Jiang was overjoyed. Before he could react, another giant descended from behind that figure. There were also 2 green snakes hanging from the ears of that figure, as if it was a replica of the former. However, if one took a closer look, they would realize that the former had a human face and a bird's body, while the latter had a human face and a beast's body. Its entire body was black. Chevy corpse. A thought flashed through Yi Chen's mind when he saw the latter. Now, the remaining 4 of the 12 ancestors of sorcery were all here. In front of everyone, Xianming transformed into a man in green, while the Chevy corpse transformed into a man in black. However, the green snakes on their ears were still there. Greetings, Realm Guardian. Xianming and the other 2 nodded at Zero. You finally appeared. Zero looked at them with a smile. Then, he looked at the Demon Master on the throne and said, Demon Master, now that we have 5 more combatants on our side, are you sure you want to turn against us now? The world instantly fell into a dead silence. Lei Yunzi and the rest were secretly prepared to attack. Huang Fuyu could not help but look at the Demon Master. The Demon Master's expression changed, and he seemed to be silent, although he had 6 Demon Emperors on his side. However, Yi Chun had 4 ancestors of sorcery on his side. All of them were Demon Emperors who were comparable to Fusion Stage. There was also Su Yuhan, the reincarnation of the Netherlord. However, her strength was still unknown. Thinking to this point, he laughed sinisterly. I'm not someone who goes back on my word. Since I've made a bet with you, I'll naturally carry it out in the manner of a bet. Sure. Zero's expression was extremely calm. At the next moment, he pointed at the temple in front of everyone. As countless runes and imprints circulated on the tip of his finger, everyone immediately felt the ground tremble violently, as if there was an earthquake. The world suddenly began to shake. Suddenly, a golden door was projected in the void. The golden door opened wide, emitting a strong primordial aura. It was incomparably majestic, as if an ancient god had descended into the mortal world. Crackle. Chapter 1667. Huang Fuyu and the other demons felt like their bodies were about to collapse under this aura. It was a suppression that came from the depths of their souls. Monarch Might. The demon lord waved his hand and protected Huang Fuyu. His expression was extremely gloomy. The great Emperor Xuanyuan's imperial might. He didn't expect that great Emperor Xianyuan had already stepped onto the path of heaven, but there were still remnants of his emperor's aura left in this world. I believe you've all guessed it. Zero glanced at Yi Chun and the rest. This is the entrance to the emperor's tomb. It can only last for the time it takes an incense stick to burn. The Xianyuan sword is inside. There are many treasures inside, including the opportunities collected by the great Emperor Xianyuan. Of course, it's also dangerous, and the slightest carelessness could lead to death. Hearing this, everyone fell silent. Their eyes were filled with determination. Zero continued. I now announce that the Emperor's tomb is open. Anyone below the Dao integration stage can enter, and there is no limit to the number of people who can enter. The winner of this bet will be whoever obtains the Xianyuan sword. The Dao integration stage was also called the form integration stage. This was the realm above the spirit severing stage. Moreover, it was the 3rd stage of the 3rd rank of heavenly arrival. Obviously, Zero had excluded the 4 grand shamans, the demon emperor, and the others. After all, if they could all enter, it would be no different from shocking battle. Go! As soon as he finished speaking, Huang Fuyu turned into a shadow and sped toward the door, followed by countless demonic shadows. Clearly, the demon lord had already informed him of the rules. Seeing the scene, Yi Chun could not help but lift his head to look at Zero, who nodded slightly. The next moment, with a sudden wave of his hand, he took a step forward and teleported towards the golden door in the void. Stop them! Huang Fuyu, who was leading, turned his head and gave Yi Chun a creepy grin. He then gave a cold order to the many specters behind him. Clearly, he wanted to use this opportunity to stall Yi Chun. After all, Zero had said earlier that the entrance to the Emperor's tomb could only last for 5 minutes. If the time passed and Yi Chun was still unable to enter, he would be deemed to have failed. Kill! At that moment, countless demonic shadows covered the sky and covered the earth as they charged at Yi Chun. There were shrill roars among them. Poochie! Lightning suddenly appeared in Yi Chun's palm. It was as if spring thunder had fallen into the world. Countless lightning sparks filled heaven and earth. The demonic shadow in his hand was instantly reduced to ashes. Even so, there were still many powerful demons attacking Yi Chun fearlessly. There were even demon kings who were comparable to Soul splitting stage among them. The void collapsed, and the chirping of cicadas filled the sky. Die! Suddenly, a shocking sword light attacked, and it actually forcefully split the leading demon king in half on the spot. Many of the demon shadows were also shattered into nothingness. Yi Wushuang landed next to Yi Chun. Brother, leave. Leave them to us. Fellow Taoist Yi, you go first. Yang Brat and I will kill their accounts first. Patriarch Yellow Spring roared and activated his thunder demon body with all his might. He joined forces with Yang Tian and fiercely charged into the demonic shadows. Kill! At this moment, Lei Yunzi, Yu Taiyuan, and the others flashed out at the same time, and they carried monstrous killing intent that shattered the sky as they surged forward. A great battle was about to break out. No one had expected that a great battle would break out before they even entered the Emperor's tomb. In just a few breaths of time, countless powerhouses had died one after another. There was no lack of demons or humans among them. Blood dyed the sky red. It was an extremely tragic sight. Bang! A soul formation stage Chinese powerhouse's abdomen was pierced through by a demonic wolf-like demon, and his primordial spirit and body were torn apart. Junior brother, seeing this scene, another old man in a Taoist robe suddenly roared. His eyes were extremely scarlet, and then he decisively chose to burn his life force and charge at the demonic wolf fearlessly. Bang! He decisively chose to self-destruct. Ha ha ha! For the human race, for Earth, kill. Kill one is worth it. Kill two is worth it. This scene completely stimulated everyone. Countless powerhouses of the older generation laughed out loud and chose to self-destruct with tragic expressions, dragging their opponents with them. Kill, kill, kill. Everyone's eyes were bloodshot. Facing this scene, including the 4 ancestral shamans and Zero, their expressions were extremely calm, as if they did not see it. This was reality. Since it was a bet, everyone had to abide by the rules of the game. If they attacked, the Demon Master and the 6 Demon Emperors beside him would attack as well. At that time, the consequences would be thousands of times more tragic than the scene before them. This was a battle where they had no choice. Since that was the case, they would rely on their own abilities to survive. They would not attack. The Demon Master and the rest turned a blind eye to it. Yi Chen's eyes were a little moist as he looked at the heavy casualties on his side. He, who prided himself on having a heart of stone, could not help but feel a stab of pain at that moment. He didn't know many of these fallen people. There was even no lack of people who had grudges with him. However, for the sake of righteousness, these people abandoned their grudges and forgot about life and death. Su Yuhan teleported over and urged, Xiao Chun, quick, the door is about to close. Go in. Old Yi, quick, go in. Yang Tian, who was bathed in demon blood, roared furiously. Don't be soft-hearted at a time like this. You have to think about the overall situation. Or their sacrifices. The real battlefield was between Yi Chun and Huang Fu Yu. Let's go. Su Yuhan took a deep breath in and grabbed Yi Chun as she charged at the closing door. Chapter 1668. After Yi Chun and Su Yuhan entered the door, boom, 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 the battle continued. Die! The Patriarch of Hell's thunder demon body erupted. After killing a few demon kings, the door in the void was about to close completely. He waved his hand and roared at Yang Tian, Lei Yunzi, and the rest who were covered in blood behind him. The door is about to disappear. Let's go. Follow the Patriarch. They had to go in. That was because many demons had already followed Huang Fu Yu in. If they did not go in, Su Yuhan and Yi Chun would be at a disadvantage. Boom! In an instant, dozens of figures rushed into the door. Subsequently, the door closed completely. Then, its color gradually dimmed and finally disappeared. Seeing this, the remaining humans and demons that were still fighting finally stopped. However, both sides had extremely solemn expressions on their faces. Many people had died in this battle, and both sides had suffered losses. Zero looked at the demon master in the void quietly and said, "Let's wait and see. There will definitely be a victor between them." "I think so too." The demon master smiled strangely. For some reason, the four ancestral witches frowned when they saw his expression. They had a bad feeling. It was a vast and boundless space. It was very quiet, and it was filled with an ancient and primordial aura, causing the entire space to seem to have been sealed for a long time. The loneliness did not last long before it was broken. The space suddenly distorted, and then an incomparably huge crack appeared. Whoosh! Subsequently, two figures shot out from the huge crack and landed on the vast ground. "Yuhan, are you all right?" Yichen grabbed Su Yuhan's hand by instinct. "I'm fine." Su Yuhan shook her head slightly and looked around. She realized that they had landed on a mountain. "Shaochen, we should have entered the Emperor's tomb, right?" "I think so." Yichen nodded. He spread his divine consciousness out as if he wanted to see through the space. However, to his disappointment, the space was too vast. Even with his divine consciousness, he could not even see 1/10 of it. At the next moment, they saw a shadow coming from afar like a ghost. It charged Yi Chun and Gu Lingji with intense, killing intent. Oomph. Yi Chen's eyes turned cold as he pulled Su Yuhan behind him. Subsequently, he charged his palm out, turning it into a giant handprint that charged at the shadow that was coming at him. Boom! The entire space seemed to be violently trembling as a powerful storm spread out in all directions, shattering the void. After the storm dissipated, a young man in black appeared in the air. He looked at Yi Chun and Yi Chun in a mocking manner. Not bad. Who else could it be but Huang Fuyu? At the same time, many demonic shadows gathered around him one after another. All of them were staring at Yi Chun and Su Yuhan with killing intent on their faces. "Do you want to fight me now?" Yi Chun looked at him coldly. Huang Fuyu licked his lips and said sinisterly, "There are only two of you, and we have 20 times more people than you. How are you going to fight me?" "Is that so? Let's give it a try then." Yi Chun's expression remained unchanged. Su Yuhan took out the hell-gathering umbrella, and the aura on her body suddenly changed. It was as if the Lord of the Underworld had returned to the mortal world. She looked at him in a holy and cold manner. "Huang Fuyu, don't you dare be so arrogant." Suddenly, an extremely arrogant voice came from above everyone's heads. Then, dozens of figures descended from the huge spatial rift. It was the Patriarch of Hell and the rest. As soon as they appeared, they stood next to Yi Chun. Yang Tian looked at Huang Fuyu with killing intent on his face. "Huang Fuyu, this will be your burial place today." Shameless boasting. Huang Fuyu smirked in disdain. "Do you think you can kill me with just a bunch of mobs? Why are you wasting your breath on him? Let's just fight." The Patriarch of Hell scoffed and gestured for everyone to attack. At that moment, an extremely dignified voice suddenly sounded in the air. "The place you're in is the Emperor's tomb. It's the mirror realm that great Emperor Xianyuan created alone. In this mirror realm, there's a Xianyuan mountain. That will be your battlefield, and the Xianyuan sword is at the peak of Xianyuan Mountain." It was Zero's voice. Hearing this, everyone retracted their killing intent. There are a total of 9 peaks on Xianyuan Mountain. Each peak has a seal. Only by obtaining the seal will you be qualified to reach the peak and face the Xianyuan sword at close range. Zero said in an incomparably mechanical manner. In other words, only 9 of you can reach the peak. The seal in anyone's hand can be exchanged and transferred. His meaning could not be clearer. In other words, Yi Chun and Huang Fuyu would fight for the seals of the 9 peaks together. Whoever had the most would be able to touch the Xianyuan sword. Now, I announce that the battle for the Emperor's tomb begins. As soon as Zero's voice fell, the atmosphere in this space immediately rose to its peak. "Yi, we'll fight sooner or later, but not now. I'll make a move first." Huang Fuyu glanced at Yi Chun coldly. After grinning, he waved his sleeve and ordered, "All demons, listen up. Occupy all 9 peaks." End of this chapter. Chapter 1669. Boom! In an instant, countless demonic figures rushed towards Xianyuan Mountain like a swarm of locusts. They blotted out the sky and covered the sun. After understanding the rules of the competition, the Patriarch of Hell immediately said, "Fellow Yi, you just have to take one peek yourself. Leave the rest to us." "All right." Yichen nodded lightly. "Let's go." This time, it was a battle between him and Huang Fuyu. Both sides were restraining each other, so he really needed the help of the Patriarch of Hell and the rest. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone turned into streaks of light and chased after him. At that moment, everyone turned into streaks of light and chased after him. Kill. During that time, many demons stayed behind as if they wanted to use the same trick to delay Yichun. However, there was no need for Yichun to do anything. There were human cultivators who stayed behind to fight them. An hour later, everyone felt their vision gradually become clear. Everyone felt their vision gradually become clearer, and what came into view was a towering mountain with no end in sight. From afar, there were 9 towering peaks on this towering mountain. They looked like 9 human fingers. The entire mountain was like a giant beast sleeping on the ground. It was completely golden. Whether it was the living beings on it or the soil, they were all golden. Before everyone could get close, they felt a strong pressure and ancient aura coming at them. It was a pressure that came from the depths of their souls. Is this great Emperor Xuanyuan's aura? Yi Chen's eyes flashed. No wonder this mountain is called Mount Xianyuan. At the same time, Huang Fuyu and the rest had already arrived at the foot of the mountain. They looked at the towering mountain in front of them with solemn expressions. The entire Mount Xianyuan was currently enveloped by a powerful seal. It was not that he had not tried, but he could not enter. After Yi Chun and the rest arrived, in the middle, the tallest 9th peak suddenly trembled violently. Then, it shone with a resplendent light, and the seal that enveloped it gradually dissipated. The 9th peak has been unsealed. Everyone's gazes froze. The Patriarch of Hell said, "Fellow Yi, I'll leave the 9th peak to you. Leave the rest to us." "All right." At that moment, Yi Chun and Huang Fuyu attacked at the same time. The two of them charged toward the 9th peak that had just been unsealed with all their might. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that the 9th summit was the tallest, and it was the center. Naturally, it could not be compared to the other 8 summits. Thus, when they saw that the two of them had the same goal, regardless of whether it was old ancestor Nether Spring, the others, or the numerous experts of the devil race that were watching from the side, none of them interfered. At the same time, Zero, the demon master, and the others in the outside world were also watching the scene within the mirror realm through their own means. When he saw Yi Chun and Huang Fuyu heading to the 9th peak together, he was shocked. The gazes of the 4 grand sorcerers turned grave. It could be said that the so-called Xianyuan sword battle in the Emperor's Tomb was tailor-made for Yi Chun and Huang Fuyu. The real battlefield was between the two of them. If one of them perished before obtaining the Xianyuan sword, then the winner of the bet would naturally be the one who survived. Boom! Under everyone's watchful eyes, Yi Chun and Huang Fuyu unleashed their abilities and charged toward the 9th peak. If one took a closer look, they would realize that Yi Chun was even faster than Huang Fuyu. He was about to step into the 9th peak that had just been unsealed. Huang Fuyu suddenly stopped. A strange smile immediately appeared on his face that was covered by countless black, demonic patterns. Demonic light. An extremely cold voice rang out. A bolt of black lightning shot out from the vertical eye between Huang Fuyu's brows. Then, it caught up to Yi Chun at an extremely terrifying speed and attacked his back. Golden pupil flame burned the heavens. Yi Chun, who was prepared, quickly twisted his head behind him. Dazzling flames erupted from his eyes. Then 2 pillars of fire shot out from his eyes. Boom! Their pupil techniques collided violently, and the terrifying might that erupted caused everyone to vomit blood on the spot. They felt like their souls were about to leave their bodies. On the other hand, Yi Chun and Huang Fuyu took a step back each. Huang Fuyu placed one hand behind his back. He looked at Yi Chun with an extremely cold gaze. Yi Chun, it's time for you guys to settle this. First, you killed my reincarnated body. Then, you destroyed my 1,000 years of hard work. Now, you snatch what belongs to me. Today is the day to pay back. At that moment, he seemed to have been completely possessed. Yichen turned his head back. His expression was as calm as water. However, there was boundless killing intent surging in his eyes as he looked at Huang Fuyu. Following that, his extremely cold voice rang out. "You traitor of the human race who has surrendered to the demons and abandoned yourself. I want you to die a graveless death." Shameless boasting. Huang Fuyu's eyes were sinister. "I'd like to see where you get your confidence from." Boom. The moment he finished speaking, boundless demonic energy erupted from his body like a torrent. The dense demonic energy filled the world, causing one to shudder. End of this chapter. Chapter 1670. In the mirror realm of the Emperor's tomb, looking at Huang Fuyu, whose demonic energy was rising at a terrifying speed, everyone could not help but feel their hearts in their throats. With the two main characters finally going to fight, the fiend Truot, under everyone's gazes, the third vertical eye between Huang Fuyu's brows opened and closed as if it had opened the gates of hell. An extreme evil surged into the world. That pair of eyes was so strange that it was terrifying. From afar, it was as if even their souls were about to be sucked in, causing their hearts to palpitate. Blurg. Below, many powerhouses could not help but spit blood when they looked at each other. Their faces were filled with shock. Someone subconsciously wanted to take out a magic treasure to protect himself. However, as soon as the magic treasure appeared, it exploded with countless cracks before turning into dust. Everyone was shocked. Such a strange pair of eyes was simply too terrifying. Seeing this scene, Zero's eyes flashed. Then, he suddenly looked at the Demon Lord in the depths of the void. "Demon Lord, I didn't expect you to teach him the heaven-shrouding demonic technique in order to nurture this kid." His expression was extremely ugly. The heaven-shrouding demonic technique. It was known as the supreme divinity of the demon world. It was created by the 5 great demon gods. Countless people dreamed of this cultivation method. Rumor had it that if one mastered it, they would be able to cover the sky. I've already told you. The demon lord's expression was cold. This kid's talent is no less than that human brat with the surname Yi. Otherwise, why would I take him in as my godson? Zero scoffed coldly and could only look into the mirror realm again. At this point, he could no longer interfere. He could only hope that Yichun would live up to his expectations. In the mirror realm, Yichun felt like his mind was about to leave his body as he looked at the evil eyes that wanted to devour one's soul. Roar! He let out a long roar, and his eyes turned from deep to resplendent. His pupils turned into 2 large bells, golden and blazing, and they suddenly rang in the world. Boom! A violent sound shook heaven and earth. It was as if it had fallen from the 9 heavens. It was deafening, as if it was a vast, immortal sound that had cleansed the soul from the immortal world. At the same time, every muscle and every bone in his body resonated. It was like the roar of a dragon and a tiger, shaking the world. Open! Huang Fuyu let out a fierce roar, and a jet-black light shot out from the vertical eye between his eyebrows. Boom! As the jet-black light appeared, the entire space battlefield trembled. Explosions rang out in the void, as if the entire space was about to collapse. Yichun smirked coldly after sensing the power of the dark light that was charging at him. An authentic demon path cultivation method? Looks like the fiend race treats you pretty well. The last time he fought with Huang Fuyu did not have such an ability. Now, in just a few days, Huang Fuyu's cultivation had skyrocketed again. From this, it could be seen that the devil race had spent a lot of resources on him. It's a pity that it's like pulling a sapling up to help it grow, and it'll only bring you harm and no benefit. Buzz! In the next second, Yichen's eyes gleamed as 2 sparks exploded. His eyes were like small suns, so resplendent that it caused one's heart to palpitate. They didn't dare to look directly at him, as if his eyes were burning. 2 pillars of divine flames shot out from his eyes. Rumble! The 2 of them clashed again, and it was still the eye technique. This time, both of them were pushed back by the storm that erupted. Perhaps because he had overexerted himself, the vertical eye between Huang Fuyu's brows was stained with blood. Average strength. Huang Fuyu was not angry. Instead, he laughed. There was a cold smile at the corner of his lips that chilled one's heart. Then his palms swept across the air, accompanied by waves of sharp dragon roars. At the next moment, his palms turned into two demonic dragons that blotted out the sky. They charged at Yi Chun with monstrous, demonic energy, as if they wanted to tear him apart. "You're courting death," Yi Chun said softly. He stretched his body, and a dragon roar and tiger roar sounded from his body. Then he suddenly slapped with his palm. If one took a closer look, they would discover that terrifying lightning surged between his fingers, and there seemed to be 9 stars rotating in his palm. 9 stars lightning palm. It was the ultimate technique of the Immortal World's Tao sect. Yi Chun had read through it back then and improved it. If he were to use it at his peak, he could mobilize the power of 9 planets at once. Even if he used it now, it was enough to deal with Huang Fuyu. What's that? At that moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on his right hand. Even Zero and the Demon Lord outside were no exception. Boom! As Yi Chun slapped, a huge palm print soared into the sky. The 9 stars grew larger and rumbled in his palm, as if they were about to evolve into a world. At the same time, lightning surged from the palm print. Boom! The lightning and the 2 demonic dragons collided violently. In an instant, the void collapsed and the ground overturned. The space battlefield was almost destroyed by their attacks. "I've underestimated you." Huang Fuyu hovered in the air as if he was possessed by the ancient demon lord. He looked at Yi Chun again and said, "Yi Chun, as expected, only you're worthy to be my enemy. Only by doing this will I feel a sense of accomplishment after killing you." He grinned ferociously. This time, the demonic energy on his body surged, and his murderous aura surged. He charged at Yi Chun like a demon lord. His palm turned into a giant peak and slashed at Yi Chun's head. Yi Chun's body radiated with divine light. He turned into a ray of divine rainbow and charged at him. Chapter 1671. The 2 of them flew towards each other, increasing their speed. Their auras rose to the peak, and they were like 2 shooting stars, erupting with terrifying balls of light. The vast fluctuations were astonishing. Kill! As soon as the 2 of them got close, Huang Fuyu's right hand swept out like a demonic rock, emitting boundless demonic might. The void distorted as if it wanted to destroy everything. Yi Chun tilted his body slightly and dodged the attack. His arm released a divine glow. With a bang, he grabbed Huang Fuyu's right hand. Puff! Huang Fuyu's right arm was cut off on the spot, and blood gushed out. Everyone was completely shocked. The battle between the 2 of them finally drew blood. Huang Fuyu ignored him. An arm suddenly appeared in front of his chest. It was like a demonic claw tearing the sky apart. It grabbed Yi Chun's chest hard. Kacha! At that moment, Yi Chun retreated at top speed. Even so, his clothes were still torn, revealing his bronze-colored skin. Boom! This time, Yi Chun waved both of his fists and attacked again. The 2 of them were extremely fast, so fast that it was difficult to capture their movements. In the span of a few breaths, the 2 of them had clashed no less than 1,000 times. With the 2 of them as the center, the space within 3 kilometers collapsed and turned into nothingness. When the 2 separated again, they saw that Huang Fuyu's arms had already been chopped off. Demonic blood sprinkled down like poisonous fire, scorching the ground. Meanwhile, Yi Chun's clothes were already riddled with holes. Yi Chun stood against the wind and stared at him indifferently. Did the demon master teach you how to grab clothes when a woman fights? After he said this, someone couldn't help but laugh. To be honest, Huang Fuyu's previous actions were indeed like a shrew in a fight. If she wasn't grabbing her hair, she was grabbing at her clothes. You're too weak. Yi Chun continued to stare at Huang Fuyu. I thought you'd learned a lot from the Devil Lord. I didn't expect you to be so weak. Really? Huang Fuyu smiled coldly. The next moment, the 2 arms that Yi Chun had severed grew back on purpose. Soon, they were back to normal. What kind of divine ability is this? Seeing this, someone gasped. The injury that Lord of Heaven Yi inflicted on him is a Tao injury. How can a Tao injury be healed so easily? Yi Chen's eyes gleamed. Not only had he cut off Huang Fu Yu's arms, but he had also cut off his demonic soul's arms. How could Huang Fu Yu grow 2 new arms? Strange, isn't it? As if sensing his doubt, Huang Fu Yu grinned and coldly said, "Since I dare to compete with you in physical strength, how can I not have something to rely on? Thanks to you, Godfather has imparted to me the 5 emperor great demon gods, the heaven, eclipsing demonic art. This demonic art is also called the undying demonic art. Its greatest effect is that it possesses the most terrifying regenerative ability in this world. Not to mention breaking my arms. Even if you cut off my head, you won't be able to kill me." At the end of his sentence, he burst out laughing like a madman. As soon as his voice fell, the world was deathly silent. Everyone's faces were filled with shock, as if they had heard something terrifying. Undying demon art? If that was the case, then what was the point of this battle? Heaven shrouding demon art? Yi Chen's pupils constricted slightly. So, you've obtained the heaven shrouding demon art created by the 5 emperor great demon gods. No wonder you're so fearless. The 5 emperor great demon gods did not refer to one person. In fact, it was 5 people. They were quintuplets, and each of them had an attribute. The 5 of them combined happened to form the 5 elements Tao. Boom! Accompanied by the whistling sound of the air being torn apart, a violent energy swept out. At the same time, Huang Fu Yu's scream could be heard. "Yi Chen, today is the day you die. Heaven shrouding demon shadow, call me the true demon." As Huang Fu Yu's last scream, his entire body suddenly became hazy. His entire body suddenly became hazy. Then, an incomparably huge demonic shadow suddenly appeared behind him. The demon shadow was as tall as a mountain. When one of its arms stretched out, it was as vast as a mountain ridge. In an instant, the space in the mirror realm trembled incomparably, and there were faint signs of collapse. Clearly, it was unable to support this huge demon shadow. True demon shadow. Outside, Zero's expression finally changed. He hurriedly took action and used all his strength to protect the Mirror Realm Emperor's tomb. Once the Emperor's tomb shattered, everyone inside would die. True demon suppression. Even the heavens could not withstand it. Not to mention a mere mirror realm. Fortunately, it seemed to be just an afterimage. Roar. Following a demonic roar that shook heaven and earth, the mountain-like demonic figure suddenly walked out from behind Huang Fu Yu and pressed its palm at Yi Chen. The scene was like Pangu splitting the world apart. Oh no. Upon seeing that, the ancestral Magus Emperor Zhang's expression changed drastically. Realm Guardian, break the mirror realm and save Yi Chen. He can't fight that true demon shadow. Even though he was facing the true demon shadow, he did not dare to say that he could withstand it. However, just as he finished speaking, the demon lord's laughter was heard. "Do you want to start the war now?" Zero shook his head slightly. "There's no turning back now." Emperor Zhang's heart could not help but sink. As the true demon shadow appeared, the Patriarch of Hell and the rest, who were deep in the mirror realm, felt like their minds were about to collapse. "Xiaochen!" Su Yuhan exclaimed. In the air, Yi Chen's eyes turned cold as he looked at the true demon shadow that was suppressing him. "True demon shadow. That's a good move. Huang Fu Yu. Oh, Huang Fu Yu, unfortunately, you're facing me." At the next moment, he took a step forward and muttered softly, "The third calamity of the 3 calamities and 9 disasters. Black Sun Calamity."